with us? You reached late, we were waiting. We're talking about this, what does that mean? So, remember now, this is land law. I'm just explaining to you the interest. Okay? When we move to a trust, and someone gives their property in trust to someone else, it creates a new animal.
So you become the trustee?
The person becomes the trustee,
Mm-hmm.
and the trustee takes the legal interest.
So they actually now own it?
They own it. But they don't own it to the extent of using this word own. That's why I don't want you to use this word own.
Okay, what's a better word to use?
A trustee has a function.
Okay. But conceptually though, they own it.
They have a legal interest.
Okay, I'm legal interest is a-
That's what I see. You have street language and then you have legal language.
Okay,
They don't own it.
Okay.
Why they don't own it?
Uh-huh.
Because I'm gonna take the same thing. I take the same property, okay? Let's use one. Morning. Okay? So, a wealthy person owned this piece of property. Do you know that word own? That means he has both legal and equitable interest. And now he wants to create a trust. When he goes to a trustee and says, I want to create a trust, he has to convey that property to the trustee.
I see.
When he conveys that property to the trustee takes the legal interest.
So essentially he removes himself as the.
Totally. And when the trustee takes this legal interest, it brings on for the trustee a fiduciary duty. And we'll go later what that duty entails.
And that duty is spelled out by the initial owner?
I guess when you turn it
The
over.
duty is spelled out in the Trustee Act and what we call common law. You know what common law is? The law of the land. Case law. And this fiduciary duty can land the trustee in jail if he doesn't do what it is he's supposed to do. And he also can be sued.
So he has a big responsibility.
Yes. And that's why you will see at the very bottom of page 4, it says it's critical that trust professionals are trained adequately to properly administer and maintain trust for their clients. That's what he's going to do. When we go to the definition of what is a trust, you will see that is who you think has the equitable interest when you create a trust.
The beneficiary.
The beneficiaries. The beneficiaries.
So what role, so once this transaction occurs, this may be the wrong word, but I want to say
Mhm.
the grantor, what happens to that person after that? Like,
Unless
he's
he is a
totally out of-
beneficiary, he
he's
gets
totally
nothing.
out of the picture.
Mhm. He gets absolutely nothing.
Who's that?
The
The
person
person-
who owns the land?
who's
Mhm.
setting up
Yeah, who
the
sets up the trust. Unless he becomes a beneficiary, he gets nothing from this property.
So in most cases, do they still include themselves in as a beneficiary?
It depends on what type of trust they're establishing. You'll see there are different types of trusts. So we go back to 1, 2, 3, the third paragraph, where it says, under a trust, the legal interest in property will be vested in the trustees, which I just explained to you, and the equitable interest will be vested in the beneficiaries. You see that? And it says by way of income or capital under the trust. So that means that the trustee, in his duty, his fiduciary duty, and one of them is to administer the trust, and you'll see that this means a lot of different things as we move further. As the property makes money, the beneficiaries are entitled to income, and they're entitled to capital. And depends on how the trust is established, this can be paid quarterly, semi-annually, annually. Capital means that you draw down from here. And that would depend on whether or not this property has appreciated over time. And the trustees make that decision, unless it's already established at the very beginning when the trust is set up. I can take this off now? Mhm. So in the Bahamas, we've set up a regimen for trust business. And we have the Trustee Act, we have the Fraudulent Disposition Act, because one of the key things you'll find out is when you place your assets within a trust, the Bahamas had to make sure that no creditor can come behind and claim that those assets belong to them. So there's a set time period in which assets within the trust cannot be attacked.
So the second one, the fraudulent disposition act, it protects from creditors, or both
Yes.
of them protect from
No,
creditors?
this Trustee Act,
Mhm.
which is what you're gonna go home tonight to download,
Okay.
to start to familiarize yourself. This one tells you what a trustee can do.
Okay, what is, oh, an investment?
amendments.
Oh, an amendments, okay. Fraudulent disposition
Position
act
act,
protects
yes.
from creditors.
Uh-huh. Then we have the Choice of Law Act.
What is that one?
Fraudulent Disposition Act. The second one is the Choice of Governing Law, which means that you can choose which jurisdiction will govern your trust.
No matter where it is.
In trust law, it is preferred that you would choose the law where the trustees are resident. But you can choose another jurisdiction. Your trustees may be here, but the bulk of your assets could be in Hong Kong. So
Which
you may
law?
decide to say you want the choice of law to be Hong Kong, in case there are any disputes, because that is where the majority of the properties are.
That's complicated.
It is
That sounds complicated.
yeah, it gets complicated. So in addition to these, we have other law, the Data Protection Act. It speaks to security of data. You have section 19 of the Banks and Trust Companies Regulations Act. It speaks to confidentiality. Mhm.
Data Protection Act, what's the rest?
Security of data.
Security.
Mhm.
They still have that office. They still have that. I know they have the app, but they still have the actual
Mhm.
office.
Mhm. There's a guy that does it now. Yeah.
Because you know they were high profile one time. Now
Mhm. Yeah, he has been around, he has been traveling, I think, in the latter part of last year around the world because the laws in Europe have changed.
Oh, okay.
There's been case law where, there's a lot of outsourcing.
Sorry, the last one?
Section 19, Section 19,
The banks.
and Trust Companies Regulation Act. It speaks to confidentiality.
What's this section 19 of?
The Banks and Trust Companies Regulations Act. So what have been done is beneficiaries, because they can't sue us, they sue the companies where the information is sourced because it's in another jurisdiction and they have different laws.
So the beneficiary can sue the trustee.
Yes, they can.
Okay.
It's very difficult here in the Bahamas because of this
Oh.
and this.
Oh.
So if I've outsourced my information to another jurisdiction,
They go
that
down.
they go there. And they've already started to do that.
Why would they do that?
Sometimes beneficiaries want to know.
They want to know.
You only know, as a beneficiary, you only know what you need to know.
Right.
That's it.
So you only see your money coming.
You only see
through.
your money coming in.
Oh, but they want
I can't
everyone else
tell
getting
you
money.
how much I paid her and why.
Right.
I can tell you I bought her a house. I can tell you I bought her a plane.
But they wanna know.
They want
Inquiring minds wanna know.
yes. They want to know how is this money being spent?
Mhm.
Where is it being spent?
else is
How much is
gone?
left?
And they can't.
No.
They shouldn't.
No.
They want to know how much
You-
of
you-
what money is being spent? Their money? The beneficiary money?
No, you don't have any money.
It's not
Not
theirs.
yours.
That's not us, it's
The pool where the money coming from?
But you can know like how often you should get it, like.
Yeah, you'll know that.
month
You
or
you will
whatever.
see when you download the act, and then you will see there's a section that speaks to disclosure of information, which we will do later down. There's only certain information you can see.
Okay.
You can get the financial statements. It may say that the trust is now worth $100 million. That doesn't mean you go and say you want $1 million. It don't work that way.
You only get what's
You
allocated.
get what is
to you.
allocated to you.
Mhm.
But at least you know it covered.
It depends
Yeah,
on the
that-
type of
that-
trust
oh,
you have.
yes, yes.
On the type
So
of
what
trust.
the stipulations are.
And there are people that advise the trustee, and you learn that later down too.
Okay, so it
And
could
that person
change.
could say,
It could
no,
change.
you're not getting it.
So it could change or well, it's not like a guarantee.
No, unless you have the type of trust that says
They
you have a
For
fixed
life,
amount,
For life or something.
this amount, no. And most of the trusts here in the Bahamas, they are based on the trustee making the decision as to what you get and when you get it.
Not the person who set it up initially.
I was.
They would be a part of the preliminary discussion as to what they want done. But once that's gone,
The
that's it.
trustee control it.
they control it.
I was watching a crime show.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to throw it out.
Go
there.
ahead.
Maybe we
Yeah.
can discuss it later, just to stick a pin in it.
Mm-hmm.
And so the gentleman, he was an adult, but he was a little compromised mentally, like autistic or something like
Mhm.
that. And the person that befriended him, but through the conversation, he heard the fella talk, oh, the trust buddy or whatever. So he established a joint account with the compromised fellow.
Mm-hmm.
So of course, he was barely spending the money. So I just said,
Mhm.
how that could be done. So we could discuss it as we go along or whatever. This was like in the U.S.
But why would they allow him to have someone sign a joint account with
You
him
see,
if
I
he
don't
is
know.
compromised?
Yeah, but the guy was
Unless
so
he
the same,
was-
so he did have an account. So I don't know how functional
He must have been functional
to some
enough,
degree,
yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But you know, like slow,
Yeah,
slow,
but he could have
probably
been
and
functional.
same as so he lived on his own, so he was functional to some degree. But this person still has some relationship.
Because that's
and
always the
check on him
danger
and
with a
stuff.
joint account.
Yeah,
The other party can take over.
yeah.
Do we have, I mean, just out of interest, do we have a lot of trustee arrangements in the Bahamas? I'm sure we do, but I just want to.
Like Bahamians, do a lot of
Significant?
Bahamians actually.
Bahamians, I was thinking a lot of
You
offshore
go with a
people.
lot of private.
This is what we do. Cause you know how the financial sector is,
So that's a part
it's
of that
divided?
banking, that's a part of
Yes.
that comes under that banking umbrella with the second largest.
that what comes under what we call our financial sector.
Okay.
And I know you see the Deputy Prime Minister in the paper every day,
Mm-hmm.
right? And he keep talking about this. And this is the second pillar.
Largest industry, yeah. The tourism.
This is what makes up the middle income.
Mm-hmm.
So this is banks,
Mm-hmm.
trusts, what else?
Insurance,
Insurance, what else?
what's that?
Gaming,
Gaming.
Yeah, okay.
What about,
credit unions,
Yeah.
okay,
securities firms, brokers, dealers, financial corporate service providers, money lenders. This is the middle income bracket. Because the salary range here is very different than the number one industry, which is tourism.
Credit union.
Mhm.
So not the security.
brokers
Brokers.
slash.
Mhm.
Brokers and dealers,
Okay.
financial corporate service providers, and then you have money lenders.
And when we say dealer, what are we talking about?
They trade stocks
stock
on the
market.
stock exchange.
Okay.
Like CFAL and stuff like that.
Mhm. No, but you have within banks and trust companies,
Oh,
if you
okay.
provide that service,
Okay.
they have the ID platform where they can go into the stock exchange
And they
through a
trade.
broker in the United States or in London, wherever, and buy stocks on behalf
Okay.
of their clients.
What is that under brokers and dealers, please?
Financial corporate service providers. You know who they are? Yes?
No.
Financial corporate service providers. These are companies that provide corporate services.
Like Leno, things like that?
No, in the Bahamas, these are Bahamians who form a company and they got a license to be a financial corporate service provider. And so the company provides corporate services to another company,
When you say corporate services, you give me an example.
like a director or secretary or an officer.
Mm-hmm.
So the company itself is named on the company as an officer of the company.
Give us an example of that,
Okay,
please.
so
Like one we could, like one was in the Bahamas, we could throw out the name of a company we could relate to.
What,
I'm trying to remember
I've
one.
heard the corporate services thing
Yeah,
before,
but you won't-
I'm
you won't
trying
see-
to
you won't
think
see it in
of
the
a
name.
company, right.
Okay, so where's the register? If I can make up the name for you. You incorporate a company,
Mhm.
name that. Okay?
Mhm.
Then you apply to the Securities Commission for a license to provide financial, corporate, and service to your clients.
Would a lawyer be a good example for that?
This can be a lawyer,
Right.
a law
Is she
firm.
providing
This can be
service?
individuals. No, hold on. This could be a lawyer, a law company. This can just be a group of individuals. This can be a bank or a trust company decided to incorporate a company to get this license. You understand what I mean now?
So it was a trust.
Look, laws.
Yes, then a good law.
And an individual can do it.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
that's any
You're
individual.
establishing a company.
You
The
start-
company could be established by you, by a bank, by a law firm, by a real estate firm.
For the specific-
Anybody,
for
it's
the
a company
specific-
you're establishing.
But it
The
has
first
to
thing
be-
is, it's a company.
How much people? Two?
Could be two, could be
one.
three, whatever,
Could be
because you're
one.
gonna have
Could be one.
staff to establish in a company.
But it could be one person too, right?
To establish a company?
Yeah.
No,
No.
no. On the
Two
Companies
both
Act, there
sides.
must be two.
Two of them.
Consent.
So,
Okay.
once you get the company, and the company is formed, you need a license to provide the service. Just like if later down you'll see if we want to establish a bank, you need a license to do the business. You can establish a company to do any one of these things, but you can't do it until you get a license. Alright? So here you need to go to Securities Commission to get this license. Once you get this license allows this company to act as a director or officer of another company. That's what it does. I'm telling you what it means right now. So, your first client comes to you, and your client says, I want to incorporate a company to do business overseas. This is a foreigner. He wants to do business overseas. So you said, all right, I can set up a company for you. So you go to the Registrar General, and you incorporate a company. And this time when you incorporate the company, we have two pieces of legislation in which you can incorporate a company. You would have incorporated this one under the Companies Act. But because this person is an international investor, you incorporate this company under the International Business Act. Because he's going to use this overseas to do his business. Not in his name, but in the name of this company. So he says, I want to establish a company. We'll call it Soursop Dough Limited. They have all kind of different names. Anything.
So when we use Cohen Limited, is that just preference or like I just want to use Cohen?
The legislation,
When would they use
the
it?
legislation allows you to use many different abbreviations. So you can use SA, underneath demand, whatever it is. It's all Ashras, German, or what. You could even put behind your name this in Mandarin. It doesn't matter. Because it's a vehicle for you to do business. Alright? So you incorporated this company for your client who say he wants a company to do business overseas. He doesn't want the company in his name. He don't want to say this company is named Mildred Smith Limited. Because everybody know who's Mildred Smith. So he wants it in another name. So incorporate the company and call it Soursop Dough Limited. Now in order to meet the requirements of law, a company must have what? You need director and you need a secretary. And depends on how big the company is. You know, you have more than one director. You may have two directors. He then pays you a fee for your company to act as his director and secretary. That's what this license is for. So when you see director on his documents, you will see Sween Miller and Co.
Okay. Let me just me see if I get
You
it.
see? And that's the business that we're in. Mm-hmm.
I just want to see if I can use examples that I can better understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Would that be how banks hire companies like auditors to come in and audit?
No,
No, that's
No.
different.
no, different.
It's gonna get you
This
to-
is how you run a company. This person here, who came to buy this company, only thing he has to do is just use this name. That's it. This company here pays all of his fees, does all of his financials, everything. He just goes in there and makes his money using this company.
I have a question for you.
Is that common?
That's what we do, yes, that's how we make money.
And is that almost like hiding, or when you don't want to be disclosed, like you?
Now you're
guys-
getting warm.
Right, so,
You're
but if
getting
he
there.
wanted to, he could do it in his own name, even if he's a foreigner?
Nobody would do that.
No.
But that's why she
So
said.
that's why they
Yeah,
come to the
because-
Bahamian and they say.
Yeah.
You
"Let
have to
me let
realize
you-"
it's different things happening. That's why at the very beginning I took you back to medieval times. Think about it. If in the Bahamas we live in a very small world,
Very small.
very small. As a matter of fact, if this was the whole map of the world, on some maps, when I went in Washington the first time, they were saying everybody point where they live and talk about it.
You
We
can
were
live
not
in
there.
city else, right?
We were not there at all. People who came from Africa, they just kept talking because thing was full. So we live in a very small world. So if you and I wanted to go into business, our reach is small compared to these people.
And we keep saying hiding as if it's a bad thing, but it's not really.
It's
a
not
bad
hiding.
thing.
It's the way to do business.
Yeah, but
You
it's not
watch a
bad
lot
thing
of
'cause
you
don't want
watch a
people
lot
there
of
like
movies. People
that.
are kidnapped,
Yeah, you
they're
don't want
tortured,
people there like
they're
that.
murdered.
Yeah.
The man on Heineken,
Yeah,
What else?
exactly.
kidnapped.
Uh-huh. You could be dismembered. They could kill members of your family, never find them.
And somebody just in South Africa or something, I how that ended up. It was some person who was going to the gym or something, but I didn't see how.
Yeah, they do a lot of kidnapping, like.
Yeah,
Africa,
and it's all
South
over the world.
America, and then.
It's all over the world. And so no one is going to use their name.
Yeah.
So what are the?
And the same thing is that when they,
Yeah, man.
you remember when they said they had the hacking of the Registrar General's thing up? They couldn't find any information. Because when you look up this company,
You're in the city name.
his name is not there. You would see this company name here.
Mhm.
So what are the qualifications to start up the FC?
SP, well you have to know company law.
So tell me something.
Mhm.
I mean, it might be a little off, but
Go ahead.
you know, some like husbands would put their car and all these other things
In a company, a regular company,
So,
not this.
okay. So why?
You're doing that for
Like how
asset
you have
protection.
this- Like how you have your business.
You put your business in a company.
Yeah.
Right, that's basically in case someone.
And if you're
That comes
smart,
from
you're about to start company law, and you will understand, because a lot of Bahamians say they're doing it to hide assets from their wife,
Mhm.
right? But it becomes twofold. It then falls under two types of law. One is company law and one is matrimonial. Because if I have helped you to gain those assets before you put that in there,
I have an interest.
I have an interest in that.
So what if you do it before?
That's different.
That's different.
Then
You
she
know
can't
why?
touch nothing.
That's
No,
prior to the
that's
marriage.
prior to. And I'll tell you why. Because when you establish a company, whatever you put in that company belongs to the company. It doesn't even belong to you.
Personally.
It belongs to the company. The
So-
company becomes a person. You and the company are not one.
Mhm.
If you want you and the company to be one, they need a sole proprietorship. Once you incorporate a company, put those assets within a company, they belong to the company, not to you. You can't go in the cash register and take what you want. You have to give yourself a salary or you have to declare dividends.
So if you used to get taken to court and all your assets and everything in the company, they can't touch me. I mean, but they can't get nothing.
It ain't
No,
your assets,
unless,
the company.
unless,
Yeah, yeah,
unless
yeah.
you
Company.
establish the company with the purpose to defraud. which means you knew these people were after you, and in order for them not to get it, you established the company. Then when you do company law, you will hear what we say in law,
Intended.
repairs the corporate veil. We go behind the company and we sue you.
Because his intention in
It's
the beginning
intentional.
was
Everything to do with law, no matter which law it is you deal with, everything comes to what's in the mind. Whether it's criminal law, land law, property law, trust law, what was in the minds of the persons when they entered into any arrangement.
But if he didn't do it to be defraud anybody, he just was
Then, yeah, that's it.
and they
But
get
how would they
proved.
know that? That's, I mean,
You will look at the
you mean
time.
at
You
the
look at the
time frame.
timing, you look at the timing, you look at communication, talk to people that you know.
Hmm.
And today's world, y'all love phones.
And everything being
Everything you're putting
monitored.
it can just be
Being
written out.
monitored. Yeah.
Even if you delete it, it's in the cloud, you
there.
can get it.
So, as if you were to put any family, or say your kids or whatever, you want to benefit from this trust, I mean, from this company, how would they go about that?
Would you mean benefited from when
Right,
you
like-
die?
Yeah, I mean, it ain't mine, but still, you want them to still benefit
Then you,
from
then
this.
in your
From this
will,
company.
you will have to leave your shares to them.
Oh, okay.
So is getting a trust a good thing?
Yes?
Or getting a will?
You will see.
better?
They're two different
Yes, I know
documents,
will.
two different documents.
Which one is better?
You know,
It
like,
depends on the purpose.
Okay.
Everything is purpose.
Mine.
So let's look at it, cause I told you I was coming back to this, right?
So let me ask
Okay.
you a question, do you have to advise the heirs, or that is if I am the person with the money or the
Mhm.
property, and I wanna say, and give, a certain amount of proceeds every specified
You mean in a
period of
trust?
time in a trust,
Uh-huh.
do I have to tell her that, look, I'm gonna leave you something?
No,
or-
no.
Okay,
No.
it
so
would
she,
look for the person.
The trustee will look for the person.
okay, so the trustee would advise.
That's the trustee's job.
What the,
Mhm.
arrangement is,
Yeah, the
So
trustee
the
gets the
trust-
name of all the beneficiaries and
Right.
their addresses and their contacts.
right,
So in no will, a lawyer does the same thing?
Yeah,
so if the trustee has to go around the world to find that
Yes,
person,
they will do
then
so.
they'll do
Uh-huh.
what they have to do, at the expense of the
of the trust.
trust.
So what happens if, that person isn't living anymore, everyone dead,
Yeah,
everyone ain't nobody here, so
it goes to the company.
trust me,
No, you have a clause in it to say where it wants to go. Most likely it's charity.
Charity,
Oh.
Charity.
to the
oh,
dogs,
okay,
Charity.
yeah, to the dogs, to the cat.
1 million.
So I can take this off, it makes me just between the trust and the will.
The $1 million fraud caller.
So we got this, right?
How much money you have to start a trust?
100,000 capital,
What?
start trust.
That ain't no money.
And that's what it's saying now.
No, that ain't said that.
The minimum capital required.
That's a company.
Let
That's the company. A trust company. She talking about a person who wants to establish a trust. Fees will be gone in that in a couple of days.
Wow.
so it's not that easy.
Yeah, you have to be wealthy. Very wealthy.
What was the thing under, the company, the last one, under money lenders?
Where are you?
Oh, okay, money
I think
lenders,
that's
say,
money lenders.
Yeah, money lenders.
okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't think I get a firm for one.
Okay.
I don't think I was that when you actually, I don't know if you said it, but what actually give a trust, because I get two different
We can, yeah.
things.
The definition is further down. We're just doing the
She doing some
introduction.
the
base,
background.
yeah, that's background. The basic. Because once we finish introduction, I don't go to that no more. We'll just be doing pure trust law. So we're just going over terminologies now so you're not confused. Because everybody in here is fresh. No one actually works in the trust, or in some classes I have people who work in the filing room in the trust. So they've seen documents. They just didn't know how to connect it. Right. Okay? So let's look at a will versus a trust. So we know a will is what we call ambulatory. not ambulance now. And ambulatory means what? It means it changes. So I can write a will today, tomorrow, the next day, whenever. A will speaks from death. I can tell you anything today that I'm leaving you something. But when I die, it's what's written in the will. So in the will, you can leave your assets, your land, your cash, I guess your personal effects. You can say how you wish to be buried. And you can say who you giving your whatever's left over. We call the remainder man. Whatever's left.
I'll give you a penny,
You can also establish a trust within the will. So really it just gives instructions. And remember, life insurance and pensions are not included in the will.
Unless it's left to your estate.
Unless it's to your estate.
and the will house and executrix.
Mhm. Right. So you can die with a will or without one.
And when you die without,
If you die without,
The core. Yes, the-
Inheritance Act determines who gets your money. It's by law.
Like the oldest child or who?
No. No.
When you have a wife, comes first, eh?
Yeah. Oldest child went away. That's no longer the law.
Oh, you're right, if you don't have a wife, your husband.
Then it moves down to the next. There's a list. It's written in law.
So the oldest son in.
No, no. If you die and you're married, your husband takes all of it. If you die and you left a husband and a child, it's split 50-50.
That have to be with the child with the husband?
No, child.
Child.
Doesn't matter where the child is.
Oh, okay.
Who it's for, it doesn't matter. If you die, you left a husband and 4 children, he gets half, and the other half is split between the 4.
Okay, so, question, right?
If
If I
you
die,
don't have a will,
If you don't have a will.
if you have a will.
It
you
follows
have to
what
leave-
you
if
will
don't
have.
leave nothing to the husband, he automatically don't get nothing, right? You
Yeah.
leave everything to the
But
kids, the
in
kids get
but
everything.
in but in the instance of a man, if he dies, he doesn't leave anything for his wife, she can challenge the court. Because the wife has what we call, she has, when you have a wife, she's predisposed to a certain style of living. And you need to leave her adequately provision for her.
So
She can,
style.
till she can maintain her style of living.
So I'm shaking.
And what about your husband?
I
It's
It
different.
don't matter.
No, you see, this is why there's a lot of argument now when you talk about, those people. I can write it tiny.
Sweetheart?
Mm-mm.
Outside children.
No, I'm not saying it, don't say it. Yes,
Oh, yes, you should. Oh, same.
yes,
Yeah.
those
Same
people.
thing.
Because when you talk about a husband and a wife, by law, when I say law, going back again to the time I'm talking
We
medieval
talking
time,
male and female.
Yes.
Going back
Yes.
to
yes, it's a union, because it's done like that for procreation. You see what I'm saying? And you're establishing a family. And who's the head of the family? Where exactly? Whether it's biblical or whether it's by law. You see what I mean?
so what if you get
So
married
this is-
again and again and again? which one of them wife
The
get?
first wife?
The last one.
Or the
Yeah.
last?
What if I divorce her too?
But then, it's whoever else you left
So
after that.
Oh, okay.
what if he leave and repeat his first wife knowing that he has a wife when he passed?
She
And his
challenged
will,
it.
she took a challenge
The
it,
second one or the
even
third
though
one
it's a
did you-
will,
No, not the second one. The last one.
the
even
last
though it's a
one.
will.
Yeah.
Still entitled, shall be divorced.
Wow, boy, complications
I
abound.
I know a friend of mine, the
I don't think a
grandfather
lot of people know
made
this.
some provision for the grandkids or something to get a certain amount of money. In a
Mhm.
certain period of time, like maybe back to school or something like
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, you put all that in there.
Yeah. So that's like a trust within the bill to a certain
Yes,
degree.
yes. Cause remember now, here, when without a will, we call the person who actually carries out this whole part, they are called the administrator. If you write a will, then it's called, the person who carries it out is called executor, or it's a female is an executrix. Now, the relationship, what ties in between the two of these is when you become an administrator or whether you become an executor, you have that word that I gave you when I say you become a trustee. You then have a fiduciary duty.
Right back to-
And this fiduciary duty means that you can be sued
No, there's
if you
people-
misappropriate the funds.
But they,
But of course, you wouldn't know if you don't know the law.
but they be ready to sue you even if you carried out.
Yes, yes.
But they would really have a legal ground to stand on, I would hope.
For
No,
who?
you still have to go answer.
You have to answer.
If they challenge you, you have to go
What's
answer.
that word? No, not unless
Where?
the last one.
Unless it's.
Unless
an estate.
you left it to your estate.
Estate.
Oh.
Because if you left it to your estate, that means that you left it to pay
The
the
beneficiaries.
I
beneficiaries.
don't,
The
But you say-
beneficiaries.
You can
will
leave
say-
your will and say, my property 100 by 200 on East Street South in lot so and so to Mary. My lot so and so and Exoma and it's a corner between so and so to Sue. My car vintage so and so to Paul. The funds in my fixed deposit at so and so bank in the amount of so and so, even though the amount may change, it's the actual the account. That's to go to Larry. You could stipulate that
that's the
in
state
the
of-
will.
No,
Now, when I say in the state of, you left your, whatever you said to my estate.
The
what
beneficiary
that mean?
portion.
Everyone.
Everybody is entitled.
Who is entitled.
You didn't name
You didn't
anybody
name nobody.
Your
specifically, you
mother
just said
or
my
your
estate.
wife or something, you just said.
My estate.
When they have the benefit.
So they pay off all the expenses,
For
and
the
then they have to,
insurance form.
then they have to do the, find out who they're giving the monies to.
And the executor or the executrix would be the person
Who administers
who
it.
administers that. Okay.
So you could name the person who you want to carry out your wishes.
I don't know this relevant, but anyway, let's say, do they have something against the oldest grandson if the oldest son died or something like
No. What you mean? If you die without a will?
that? Yeah.
No, the law, the
Still
Inheritance
goes
Act,
to
look
the
it
law.
on, look it up when you go home. It tells you who's next in line. The law tells you.
Okay.
So maybe back in the day, it might have been
Back in the
different,
day, it
but
was that
now
way.
it's changed.
That's how a lot of people lost their property.
Cause it was straight.
Maybe
When,
back in
yeah,
the day it
to the
was
oldest
easy.
brother and uncle and no,
Mm,
not anymore.
okay.
And remember now, you could be married and have one son with your wife. But if you have other children, they're all entitled when you die.
Kids are bad luck.
Doesn't matter.
The entire
Okay,
law.
so-
They're all children.
Okay, so question, right? If
Why
I have,
finger like
if I have
that?
4 children with my wife, right? And I go and I have 2, right?
Mhm.
Who basically, they don't come around, you don't know them. Now, they entitled to
Then you're all-
whenever I
You sign
leave,
for
right?
them.
To
Did you
property or
sign for
cash
them?
or both?
Yeah,
sign.
okay,
You
that's
sign
it.
for them?
Yeah, I
They're
signed for
entitled.
them. Okay, now suppose, like I said, they're in the picture, they don't know I died. So when they come around,
Somebody can
if they
tell
do
them.
come
Someone
around,
knows, and
They
if they
can
have a
find out.
paternity
They
test
can fill
done,
in the
they your
paper.
son, they are entitled.
so suppose the money already split up, then what?
then they gotta go to court.
This was happening when
So that's-
funeral come.
But if
Cash
they're
outs.
divided, how could they split?
All these
How
kids
could they
who
share
Yeah.
it so
know
who are entitled?
Exactly.
So that means you gotta go to 1, 2, 3, 4 children and tell them, okay, now what you have,
Then
you
Then
have
the
to
state
split.
My question is, how
Without
could
a
you share
children,
it
that's
so
not
who are
children.
entitled?
They're all
And
entitled,
the
they're
side
children.
from, so
I
they're
mean, how
entitled
could
to
you
a
share-
young, some young.
Share them out? Would
You
it-
cannot.
Oh.
So that's
No, by law, they're children, they're
That's-
children.
That's cash or property or all
Whatever
of
it
the-
is.
Wow, that is.
And in some instances, you have to sell the property.
Boy, that is so weird.
Just to split the cost.
Three man,
Yeah.
you man and wife, and then you find out this poison of like 20 other children.
Mm-hmm.
But they have to come forward
And
too.
you
They have to come
get
forward,
30
if they know.
years and didn't know what the 20
And
years
how
is,
fun.
that's.
And how fun.
It happens every day.
You have your hard attack,
Yeah, these
what's
children
it?
None of it's out now.
Yeah, that's when you come to the
before
funeral.
it.
You see,
No, this
or
No,
you
this
see
is
children
happening
warring.
now.
Every day, every day,
Right.
every
My-
day.
My
That's
boy
not
right
so
now,
small, though.
he going through that. His mommy almost left the house from his granddaddy. And his granddaddy now had a daughter who lived in the States.
Mhm.
And she come back over now saying she want what's hers.
Yeah.
So now they have to sell the property.
Yes.
Mm.
Give them
That's-
the
And
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
and she tell them that if they want it, they gotta buy it
Pay
back
her
from her.
out.
Yeah,
Yes.
oh,
Pay
yeah.
around.
Because you can't mix emotions
Mhm.
with law.
Mhm.
You see, I can turn around and say, you know what? He left that. I don't need it. Have it.
Mhm.
But guess what? I can turn around and like you said, guess it's mine. I want mine. I want it.
Yeah, now.
Because by law, I'm entitled to it.
Mhm.
That's the difference.
That's one thing about women and too much.
But ain't nothing wrong with that, if
Yeah,
the man,
yeah.
like the child is
It is
entitled.
entitled.
Why should one child be treated better than the next?
Yeah, it's
But
equal.
it was in the marriage.
Or not. You made a child.
He had that child, if he have stuff left, all them children should
Mhm.
get something.
Mhm.
Now, if he writes a will and leaves them out,
That's different.
and they're over 18 and not in school, you don't stand a chance.
Mhm.
And,
see the
and
difference?
And when children like go straight to college up to 21, it's almost like they still,
They're still
the parents
children,
still
responsible for them.
Once they get
And if the
straight to
child is
college.
mentally incapacitated,
Uh-huh.
you have to pay for them.
Mhm.
So I may have had one.
So I just tell you one, let me see for 1 second.
Hold on one sec.
It should, yeah, you gotta be responsible. You
Yeah,
can't
but
all
you
over
just
the
have to
place
be
now.
more
Cause
responsible,
like you
yeah.
catch up with you now, or you catch up
And
with
then-
you.
and-
You
and-
know,
and
you
then-
learn certain stuff, you should
And
automatically.
you catch up with you
right
now,
away.
or
Yeah,
you.
yeah, and then they could be the child pursuing diligently to be that
Yeah.
mother pursue that
Yeah.
diligently, especially if the child is there.
Don't let you have a wife who don't like to get money, even though you know
Yeah,
it's.
but they ain't like how they could be, it
But
could
then
be travel.
women,
No
sometimes
way, no
women
do
is
what-
scared
your
of
wife
the
and
men,
child
they know what
decide things
children
to be
before,
friends.
and
Yeah.
then they have to take that into consideration if you meet a man with a child.
Yeah, you may meet
Before.
them.
It come as a package, and yeah, my
You might
child
think you
don't
only
be
have
alone.
one, but this
You
dude
know,
may have
you
20.
know, but some people
Yeah.
don't
Okay,
like
when you
that.
tell people the one.
Yeah, cause you may not have a
Child,
problem
you
with
better
the
listen
one
when
of-
you head the things right in town.
That's true, hey, have your ass to the ground,
Yeah.
right, that's a good point.
You better listen,
You
don't be
can't
dumb
say that, I know
enough.
true, yeah, yeah.
Nah, that true shit, you
I
gotta
follow
listen.
by heart.
When you hear what she just said, you can't mix emotions with law. I hope y'all write that down. You can't mix
But there's so much,
emotions.
but the thing is, so much emotion involved in everything, right? Cause it's so personal to
Mom
your
and daddy
existence.
just dead and someone coming out
That's
tap
right,
you
the
on the shoulder
death.
and say,
Yeah.
So suppose the,
you know,
That's like the
the,
idea.
Yeah,
the
that's
like
idea,
that.
the
That's
idea,
about that.
suppose he write up
Yeah,
a
yeah,
notice
yeah.
and
I
write
hear
it
you.
out,
Just like you
outside
do.
child.
I hear he was straight. I mean, it's like straight back. You go straight on that door.
I would feel no
I
right
have a question.
Go ahead.
Suppose the husband died and the, say you have outside child and he died, he go with one airing to his outside child, the wife still could fight that?
You
Yeah.
get half.
I get half, even though the will says everything goes to me.
Oh, this is a will?
Uh-huh.
No, they can challenge it.
So what about
Wow.
a business?
The wife could challenge it,
If-
yeah.
What is the likelihood of her prevailing though? It's gonna, cause it
No,
could be
but it's
contin-
child. So, and if she's under, the child is under 18 or still in school, you know, he has to provide.
So what does that mean? You have a business, right?
Mhm.
And you are the oldest and you running that business.
Mhm.
And your father had some children up there who wasn't a part of it, ain't doing nothing with it.
But your father is a shareholder?
But he is, yeah.
He's the shareholder?
He's the
And he
owner
died
of
without a
it
will?
And died, I guess.
But your children, you're entitled.
Wow.
So
So
me
you
busting
That's
my,
why he,
so me
yes,
busting my backside,
that's
yeah.
why things need to
Ask
be
your
known.
daddy.
Peace
Ask
on
your
just
daddy to
Ask your
transfer the
daddy.
shares to you,
and ask, make
so
sure
that you
daddy
own the
get
company.
much.
That's why
Because
it's
right
get
now you don't
emotional.
own the company.
Like you say,
Daddy
that's why
the
it's
boss,
get
eh?
emotional, cause
That's why it gets
he
emotional.
work and he
It's putting
build
all
that
the
up,
time.
he
Ain't nothing
can't
you
do
could
it,
do.
'cause he want it for
You
his
see, by
children.
law, your brother or sister could just
Still
walk
own
away.
it, right?
But if you're running a profitable business,
They coming for theirs.
they're coming for their share,
Mhm.
whether they was there or not.
I come
The only way to do that is buy them out. But they have to accept that though.
No, but
Just
you
take
got-
you to court and
you
drag
can
it
feel
through.
like you ain't have to
So
buy
then
them
say it
out.
over your head, stress you right out, you have massive heart attack when you gone, well, they still own it.
But the Bahamas.
So get it right the first time. If he intends to leave it to you,
He better-
if he's saying he's going to give it to you, and that's what he wants, tell him transfer the shares to you.
But the Bahamas tends to be more like a casual society.
Yeah, until
Where we
death.
just- Yeah, until death.
And that's why you see there's a lot of properties still vacant. Houses started,
People
run
buy
down,
it,
because everybody's fighting.
Fighting over them.
Yeah.
That's a
Mhm.
big
Yes.
Yeah, and houses, you know, are so well kept and stuff when you look there.
Because one of the co-workers here just finished saying one of her good friends, a bus driver, had a massive heart attack last night.
Wow.
He had the pain for a couple of days, but he thought, I guess, probably thought it was gas or whatever. Massive heart attack, gone. You don't know.
Stress again.
So just like that, it's gone.
Like I have a friend,
Mm-hmm.
his whole, his aunts and uncles and all them old, but they staying in their mommy house because they want to try and get this house.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, and I was trying to say, I said, brother, why all these people in this house though?
That's what
Hey, and
happens. So why you think
it's driving me up the
when
mountain.
you in the house, say your parents in the house and it's 4 of you, and you decide you can stay there. And then when your parent
You take
died,
care
and
of
you say,
them.
when I was
I
here,
was
I
here,
was
I was
taking
taking
care of
care of
mine,
them.
but it don't work that way. They could actually put you out.
Yeah. Look, it's a, you grab me up dementia and you know,
Yeah,
time ticking and all them up in that house trying to
yeah,
hold on.
but that's
to
how it
something.
works.
Yeah,
But then there's the
cleaning
law.
up all these, yeah.
That's the law. What you gonna say?
Now with the, like you said, with the vacant properties and people fighting, the process that it has to go through the courts.
Take years.
Oh,
She's trying to make that property just
oh,
be
that's a
sit there.
bummer.
That's what look around.
Sometimes
You
the
can
next
see- you
person
can
might
see it.
die and all.
Yeah.
But isn't
before
that
you get that straight
The
to the
people
courts.
won't stop fighting, or is it that the process, there's not
No,
enough
people don't stop
judges? Okay.
Just tell them.
And then even if
I
you
would-
go
Yeah,
to they
yeah.
can challenge it
And
again,
then
right?
the
Yeah.
property will
Yes,
buy,
yeah,
get
on
all
and
that.
on and
No,
on.
no, no, because you can't come to an agreement. Because sometimes they come to an agreement.
But the,
I don't do it, I don't do it, 'cause I
can't the
think I
judge
already
just
know.
make a ruling to say, look,
After
after a certain amount of
It's a-
time.
yeah, it's a family
And it
matter.
makes
Yeah, all I want is.
Is it a man?
to sell
But that
it.
don't, that never gets solved.
It's like a family matter.
Sometimes only the
If it makes
great
sense, then
grandchildren
Wow.
get profit
Yeah.
from these properties. How much people got out
Yeah.
before these go through?
That's deep.
And then remember, now, it's deep, because remember now, if you were entitled to a portion, so let's say they left 4 children, right?
I
But
know
in the
situations
process, you
like
died.
this.
So now
Right?
I'm down to 3. But I want my estate to get.
But you had 6 children.
Right.
All
so
of them
now-
are entitled to your 1/4.
Right.
So
So all them must have a say.
All them must have a
but
say.
still go- this
You
is
see?
taking the
So this
court.
was your 1/4. This one of a quarter, this one of a quarter, this one of the quarter. This one had 5.
And this-
I know.
And
the
that's one died.
situation-
You see what I'm saying?
That's the 11 kids.
I know
Right.
the situation
That's
like
then,
this right
that's then
now
11,
is not
12, 13.
Next thing you know,
Miss
you see
Archer,
when you get it,
And they have kids.
And they have kids.
Miss
Can't
Archer,
even
I know
walk.
a
So if the
situation
kid-
where they have this property that worth like about $5 million, but it was left to 2 children who died but left it to their grandchildren. So it's like it's 2 sides of a family fighting for it, and one side of the family don't want to agree on it. And then this person died, and that person had like 5 children. So
Yeah,
all
because he's
5 of
going-
the children
And so it's
say
all of them
something.
now have to
So-
come having family meetings over
Right.
and over again, but it cannot be done.
No one
And
agree.
one side of a lawyer and the next side
Yeah,
of a different
this,
lawyer.
and this is this. Got me now?
Yeah.
Now let's go over here.
Fine.
And it's been for years.
so
This
in
is
that
before I
case,
was
you should,
born.
you should have a trust.
Yes.
What's the
In that
after
case, you
buried?
should-
Huh?
After buried, what's that?
Remind them, remain them on.
Remain the man.
Okay.
That's who gets about it. So let's say a trust. You have a trust.
I hope the trust more cleaner than all of this, keep going down,
Yes, it is.
going down,
It is.
going down.
Yes, it is.
You know,
Whatever properties you have, you convey it to the trustee.
Can the beneficiary sue the trust?
Yes, they can sue the trustee.
Team. But what's that likelihood of winning though?
They can win on certain grounds,
Yeah.
which means that he didn't carry out his.
It's
Fiduciary
fiduciary
duty.
properly.
Properly.
But if he was doing it
But
properly,
the
Then
trustees
it-
don't
nothing
check the
happens.
people, right?
Huh?
They don't check the people, right?
Yeah, some do.
Yeah,
Some do.
sometimes, that's the real
Some
world.
commingle.
but you see,
Some
the trustee
spend it.
know how much in that account.
Hmm?
We don't know that, being
Yeah, you entitled to financial statements.
So you
Yeah,
can know how much
statements.
in the account, but you just can't know where that money coming from.
You know where it's
The way
coming from because the financial
distributed,
tells
how
you.
it's distributed, that's what you.
But then you just saying that you.
I can't. You will
can't
not
find
know how
who
much
else
she got,
getting, who else
Right.
getting.
but
okay,
you will
okay.
know
Oh.
totally how much it's worth.
And you can tell where it's coming from.
Yeah, you can see what his income, what's the expenses. You just can't tell what she got and what she got. You know what you got.
Which really ain't none of
Because
your
she
It's
could
none of your
get,
business.
so she could get
It's
more
none
than
of your
him, right?
Yeah.
Should have
No,
been.
inquiry
Or she could have gotten nothing at all.
Exactly, yeah. But you
Yeah.
don't
That
know
only
what
make you
was
wanna
in
go
there.
get things just for getting it.
Like what?
Sound like it's trespass to give
It's greed
everybody
still, though,
the
like-
things while they living in
That,
the
okay, so if you don't have, so if you don't have sufficient to establish this,
Looking at you and saying,
I'll tell you what some Bahamians do, who are kind of like well off
Well, that's it.
and don't want to go through the expense of a trust. What they do is when they realize that they're sick, even though they may not pass during that time, if their mind is already made up that when I pass, this is what I'm giving to these persons, they give it.
Yeah, you might still give it.
And the only thing they leave is the house they're in, and the car, and the cash that they need. But if they have a property here, a property there, a property there, they convey them all.
That only makes sense.
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah.
if they
Because you
know
avoid a lot of
they're on the way out.
confusion.
And
Exactly.
legal fees and stuff like that.
And you know you on the way out.
So I know a very wealthy guy, that's what he did. He gave all his properties to all of his children, gave them all a car, gave them money for their school fees. And the house he was living in, that was his second wife. He said, when I die, this is yours.
Nah, I
So when he
remember-
passed, there was nothing to give up.
I-
Because he was having
Nah, that's what it's all.
triple bypass. That was his second one.
I know with.
He survived it and then of course
But
he
he was
passed,
smart,
but he
he
already
know-
gave everything
he
away.
know
So there was
time.
no arguments.
I
You see?
with Frank Sinatra, if I remember correctly, he gave the children, you know, something good.
So he can give him money.
When he
So
passed.
he said, "Oh,
Mhm.
But
you can have it more."
apparently made a stipulation that if they try to sue the wife, then they would get
Nothing.
So that
Yeah.
stopped whatever, because you don't know,
I think
you
I
could give them
remember that.
100 million, they could still be saying, you know.
So you could look at
Yeah,
Roberta
yeah, so he
Flack
stopped
now,
that
she's
right there.
she's dead, she left 4 sons.
This is Aretha Franklin or Roberta Flack?
Which one is it?
Aretha
Aretha Franklin?
Franklin.
And
Yeah.
Yeah,
you see how much
so-
she owes in taxes?
I saw her.
She not used to pay that.
She may have
Sometimes they
paid
take
it.
that accountant, they
Oh
doing
my
it in the
God.
account.
Yeah.
So
How much she owed?
But she
Yes.
read
Yeah,
that.
listen,
She-
that's a way to
she
separate
got
the
three
family,
fifty
eh?
for that, right?
So
That
even
money,
though you,
that
so
money
even
is
though you're
split
saying,
up.
so even though you're saying she was worth what 100 million or whatever it is, taxes have to be paid first. Remember that. You could be in the will, and you could in here it could say you getting the balance on the account was 150,000. Oh yeah, good. And then you say I getting this property. My sister getting that property. Oh, we good. But you have to pay all of your expenses before.
So how many years they say she wasn't paying taxes for?
We don't know.
No, they're going through all of the receipts and the invoices and all of that. When you die, that's what they do. And they say she owes.
So now you just get away with that, like, I thought they'd
Because
be
you
on
pay,
you.
no, you pay current. You said, this is my invoices for the year. But when you die, they go deeper.
Especially if you're rich like
So
that.
they look
Right,
at all
so they
your
put them
assets
all,
and
they
then-
put it all together.
And
And so
you
they're
put
looking
up
at
with
concerts that she would have done abroad,
Wait a minute,
looking at the
okay.
way the invoices were sent in, whether the invoices tied in, they do all of that.
So if they don't have invoice, they'll go and.
They'll get it from
match.
another jurisdiction, yeah, they
Right.
match them up and all of that, you
Because
see.
if she alive, she can fight that, right?
Yeah, she's dead.
Right,
That's
so when
it.
she dead, that's then they get
Yeah,
that chance to
they
take
get a
it.
chance to take
She
what is
had
there.
to
Big
afford
is
with
that.
that money.
So instead of,
So pay
okay, so to
taxes
secure
then,
yourself in such a way, if I was to buy land,
Mhm.
pay my taxes on land, and you know land go up. If you
No,
invest
there's a
on
current tax. Whatever tax, let's say if every year you're supposed to pay 10%,
Okay.
you have to pay it. So it's the same thing with real property tax. Another reason why property is not moving. All these years you did not pay your real property tax. When you die, that has to be paid before it's transferred to somebody else.
That's in the Bahamas?
Yes,
Yes.
by law.
And the first property
Because
is free
it's
from
just
property
kind of-
tax, right?
That's if you're building on it.
Only if you been done.
That's different. That's the first home.
So if
Well,
I
when
put
you
one,
live
then
in,
shock
right?
on that.
Or if it's below the
Yeah, the
Threshold.
shock is a home and you
How
get
much
what you
is,
put
how
on
much
that.
your threshold is?
258.
What would you do? You exempt if you was a
First time homeowner under the value.
250.
Yeah.
Under 250.
You have to pay taxes.
You know you can do that.
That's the which value that is, that's the value you got it for.
You don't remember when they came
It's a
around
home
knocking on
under
your door, doing evaluations and stuff going, y'all don't
I
remember
keep
that?
telling every
Yes, right
class,
now,
and y'all a young crew, besides us, you have to be prepared to pay taxes.
They're gonna die for $20,000.
You still gonna pay taxes?
You still have to pay
on
taxes.
that.
First time home.
Because look at when I started the class, where did I start from? Way back, and people went to war on horse.
But they need to
And we
raise
have
that
not been paying taxes
$250.
ever.
Spread it over.
You have to pay tax.
$150,000.
A country can't run without paying taxes. We're complaining every day, besides the part of the issue what we say we had with disappearance. You still have to pay it, whether disappear or not, you have to pay it.
You know, it'd be like 60 to 85
You can't run a country without it. So just like having a house, a husband, wife, and they don't work, how they operate? They can't. Money has to come in.
You were talking about giving the persons the stuff while you were alive, but I know people who like sometimes they want to start to give people, for example, their jewelry and stuff like that, but you try to give the younger people like your pearls and stuff, you know, they're interested that
Then you don't give it to them.
value of that, but you trying to kind of
Yeah, you don't give it to them.
start to distribute your stuff. That's a part of
Yeah, that's a part of
what
it,
you're
yeah.
trying to do.
But you have to give it to someone who appreciates it.
Yeah,
And knows
yeah.
the value of it.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
imagine those paintings and stuff like that. would be-
Right, on
Yeah.
payments and stuff, you, cause,
Millions of dollars.
yeah, cause you really subtly
You give it to
trying
a
to
museum.
start, yeah.
Or you could sell it to,
No.
Or you sell it to someone else,
Oh,
another
auction
art
it
collector.
off.
Or auction it anyone.
make it black money and they give you stuff, just sell it.
Yeah.
Do your
'Cause-
research.
Because you can't take an
Yeah,
image
so
when you
you
go.
do
That's
your
the whole
research.
point.
You do your research, 'cause
Only what
you
the stamp
get
price will
raw.
last.
Yes. Can't take
Oh, they
nothing
want it
with you.
Right.
But
You've
that's
seen that
what I'm
already.
saying, they're
That
really taking
phone
it
now
like,
from my granddaddy.
Okay,
they're
so
really
let's
taking
go.
it like this fine jewelry or whatever, they
So,
say.
so we
I
had,
don't
we
like
had lots of
food,
introduction
so-
now, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
man, it really show
alright.
you the complexity of stuff.
Alright, so go to the bottom of the first page.
We sell the
Page
first
4.
page.
Yes.
It show you the complexity of stuff.
Yeah.
You gotta
So
polish
say-
that and keep that in a nice safe box.
This is the set now. A
Process.
focus now on trust law.
Keep that.
The trust officer, the responsibilities are quite onerous, as you can see. They're quite onerous. Once you become a trustee, it's onerous, because you can be sued for breach of trust. And the development of a focused and analytical approach to trust administration is important to minimizing and mitigating the risk inherent in trust. So now let's go to page 5 finally. Some of this we've already spoken about. So here, we know who's the regulator for this, banks and trusts. Who regulates them?
Central
The
Bank,
central bank. Who regulates insurance,
ICB,
gaming,
Gaming Board,
credit unions,
I think the Central Bank,
yes, central bank. Money lenders,
Central Bank,
no.
no,
Securities Commission.
Securities Commission. FCP,
probably Securities Commission.
Securities Commission, yes, I told you that when we did it over there. Brokers and dealers,
Securities
Securities.
Commission,
Securities Commission, and securities.
Securities Commission.
Okay. So if you wanted to establish a trust company, where would you, where do you go?
So the Central Bank
The
then.
central bank.
Mhm.
So like,
The lawyer will put in the application
put an
package,
application package.
but you have to provide all the information, which I have Okay? So it says in the Bahamas, the function and uses of trusts are being modified and enhanced through practical trust legislation. And there are many reasons why a person may create a trust. One is what we have here, estate planning, to provide for your spouse and your children after your death. You can set up a trust just for a child that has special needs, where the trustee pays all of the child's expenses and everything else, you don't have to worry about that. To protect assets from being dissipated by wastrels, spendthrifts, or physically irresponsible spouses or children. So you could have a wife who likes to spend a lot of money, or you could have children that like to spend a lot of money, and so you can establish a trust for them.
What's the best?
Wastrel are just children who just waste money.
Waste
Yeah,
money.
Live
What if you
lavish.
just wanna determine that, you give them that lifestyle, as a parent, you don't think,
What do you mean?
you give them that lavish lifestyle for them to spend like that.
Yeah, so
So
when
you
you have
allow
that,
that.
you
So you as a
But
parent,
some people are just different.
I mean, like, 'cause when you start kids, you know, they
I don't know what it is.
But everybody is different. I would have many years ago said the same thing, but I'll give you a story. My son, when he was in grade 11, every year we went to Walmart. And I always bought his shorts and tops and slippers with, oh, Walmart. He was in grade 11. And we went to Miami. He was excited. We pulled up to Walmart. He said, I'm not coming out.
He
So
was
why?
there right now.
No, I don't want anything
He
from them.
wanted
And I'm not
Aaron.
going to wear it.
He
Aaron.
want
And he
them
did not
right
come
now.
out.
Yeah,
he
he
did
Tommy
not.
Hilfiger.
Bought nothing.
Tommy Hilfiger and all them.
He came back with nothing. The following summer, he said he had to find a job.
At least
Found a
as
job.
long as he know it.
He made $1,500.
One name, Brian.
And when we went away, he said, take me to Aventura.
Yeah.
And that's where he bought. And that is how he is
Name
now.
Brian, right? Name Brian.
No.
If he
Fair.
cannot get what he wants, he will buy nothing.
Yeah, well, long as he paying for it, that's fine.
That's how he is.
That's me.
My
It's like, that's
nephew,
my hair pattern. No,
same
I'm just
way.
balling my hair till I was in grade 7.
And I used to ball his hair. I ball his hair until he was in grade 11.
never happened.
Now he pays $30 for a haircut.
Oh, no, I don't pay no $30 now.
Because it has to be done in a particular way. It has to be washed with a particular gel. You see what I'm saying? And that's just,
No, you realize it.
That's good though, he know the.
But at least he paying for it.
yeah.
Yeah, he's still working,
He's very
yeah,
particular.
yeah, yeah.
But at least he working, he willing to
You spend
work
money
Yeah,
it
on
buy
out.
glasses, any kind of glasses.
You gotta teach guys,
No,
boys,
that's me
men.
though. You ain't gonna buy me any kind of thing.
No,
No.
he's very particular.
If that's the case, let me buy
I
it.
am.
myself.
Yeah.
Just like that.
And he'll wait until he can get what he needs. Everybody's different.
That's independence.
Yeah.
Well, they ain't teeth in on
That's
us,
good.
so
No.
that's fine.
At least
So,
you
but
know
I'm
you
saying
have
yeah,
to spend his money.
and you're
Because
willing to do
Right.
Yeah.
So that's where the wastrels.
Wastrels
come in.
and spendthrifts and stuff like
You
that.
have some people
So,
that
like you say,
spend
he
your money,
won't,
but save
he
money.
won't just, right, but he's not just gonna just spend it.
Okay. So you might have people who instead of eating with a regular fork, they may want a gold fork.
Yeah.
Which is crazy, but
I know,
you
that's
have some
serious.
people like that. You have some
Well,
people
he
like that.
Yeah.
off, must he brushing my teeth?
And to
A
me, a
shower
fork is a
in the
fork, like I
morning.
wouldn't do.
Mhm.
I'm calling shot and sell that.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Go
you
ahead.
can establish a
that's
trust
great
for
right now.
investment purposes. You'll find as we go further, investment is one of the main duties of a trustee. Because if I give you $1 million and I say this is for my heirs, that doesn't mean at the end of this year, I still have $1 million. You gotta make money.
So how
Because
does
if
You have
you
to
make
pay
money,
fees.
they will sue you. If I am the great-great-grandchild and I'm now expecting my share, you can't tell me there's no money.
Yeah, boy, ain't coming
You
out
gotta
of
make
you.
money.
So
You
you
gotta
gotta be
find ways
careful.
to invest that
So
money.
you gotta be
So how
careful
you
where you invest that
Yes,
money
ma'am.
because I want a return.
And when you start reading the trustee act, you will see that the act gives you the conditions that apply when you invest.
This is serious position.
It's
Yes, it
serious
is.
because guess what? You
Because
don't
if I
control the
tell my
market.
son he's supposed to get $1 million and that ain't in that account.
Yes.
Not finished.
But you may have invested in good faith, but you don't control the
You
market.
have,
You
yeah,
don't control the
but
market
you
process.
will have to prove
That you
you
did the
did it in
best
good
job
faith,
possible.
yes.
Still deserve that $1
Yes.
million.
And you know when they expecting that money, they then spend that.
Long time ago.
So they're looking
Exactly.
for that next
But
charge.
then you wouldn't make this decision to invest all of it in
No.
one place.
But you have to move it, you have to put it in different
Different,
vehicles.
yeah. So you'll
So
find
one of
their
those
jobs
comes-
just working in investments.
Wow.
If you work in a trust company,
Yeah.
you could have a desk just looking at a portfolio. making sure that it makes money, getting information as to whether or not what they've invested in is a good investment, how long to keep it in there, when
Take
to
it
move
out.
it.
Make
Okay,
sure
so-
they paying fees too?
So
Yeah,
question.
the fees is different, the fees are standard, they
So-
tell you what the fees are.
So if, alright, let's say you come to me and you say, okay, it's $1 million, my great grandson, whoever is entitled to this, right? I can then take that money and when you say, I have to invest in a company, or can I start a company with that?
No, you gotta invest.
In a
You
already
see-
up and
Yes.
running company?
On the stock market,
How you want to start a company
See,
with
but that's
people
go up
money?
and down.
Pardon,
So
man.
what is
you
the-
have, that's what I'm telling you now, you're gonna see when you start to read the trustee act, cause y'all are so excited, you will see there's provision in the act where you employ agents. So you go out and you hire an investment firm,
So let me-
who's gonna provide you with information. But even though they provide you with information professionally, you're still responsible.
So what if I
Like
put that in
C5?
an interest bearing account?
You're not gonna make it sufficient money.
No, that ain't be enough.
I don't know, right? I
Remember
just
now,
said that.
remember now,
2%.
remember, go to your notes, when I say a beneficiary gets income and capital. Depends on how this trust was established and what you would agree with the set law, you gotta be able to pay these people income.
That's what I charge.
So if I said in the set law, when I settled the trust, I said, now, I want her to get around $1,000, I want her to get $750, I want her to get $2,000. You can't be coming at the end of the quarter, or the end of the year, and saying you don't need. You gotta go make that,
Well, you better go make that
Golly.
or else.
or else,
Best put that out your account if you got to put that out your account.
Can't do that.
I can need that.
you can't do that.
Need that.
So what would you
Yeah.
do?
What?
If you going into the stock market, this is what you illustrate, right? You know there's fluctuates up and down,
Uh-huh.
right? So in a case like that, you wanna make money coming from, the person like yourself who's been in it for a while, what would you have done with that?
You got,
How would you make me more money as?
you gotta invest it in the highest paying stocks. That's why you have these people here. They tell you when to move it, when to sell it. Broker dealers. This is an active business. Broker dealers buying and selling all day
So the
long.
trustee,
So what about the short term, what they call day trading?
Depends on what the return will be.
but I don't think we're interested in the day trade, we want
No.
more
Make a-
long
I
term.
know, but
It depends.
make a lot of
You
money.
see, okay, you'll find out when we do the section on investments, you'll find out that first thing you have to do, you have to set up a strategy. How you gonna get the money that you
You
need to
need.
get? So then you have to take the portfolio and divide it into segments, how much you put in the stocks, how much in the equity, how much in speculative, how much in gold, and depends on what the settlor says he wants you to invest in.
And
You
the
basically,
risk you-
basically writing up a business plan.
Then you call it business plan, we call it investment
Strategy.
strategy, because you have to strategize.
And you
So
determine
how
what
much-
level of risk you want.
Yes, all of that,
How much portfolios can one have?
depends on how much money you have.
Many.
Remember now, when we started, someone said 100,000, I said that's to establish a trust. These people are worth billions,
Billions, I think billions and trillions. I have a question.
billions of dollars. There's no play money. When you work in a trust company, you're not dealing with small money.
Right.
So, one, you can't be thinking dollar signs. You gotta be thinking about jail.
Yeah.
That's what you have to think about, jail.
That's a
Put
reality check.
jail in front of your mind. Put
That's a
them bars in
reality
front of your
check.
mind. Or them cufflinks on you. Don't think about how much money you see passing. Because you have to do your job correctly.
So I made the money from the fees.
Yes.
But you know what
You made them fees?
The company.
Don't worry, they're well paid.
They're well
very
paid.
well paid.
The employees
But
are well paid.
But you know what this
Very well paid.
you know what this is
Very well
showing
paid.
me?
What I told you in the beginning, I told you this is the middle income. This is the middle income strata. And the persons employed in this is shrinking. I think we're down to this amount now. See how small that is?
How much was it prior? Maybe about 2,000 more?
Yeah,
I can't remember.
this is our middle income.
But you know
Out of
what
our
this-
whole population, you know.
You know what this discussion
better
is?
income,
huh?
No, this is how
for
many
the
people are
population.
employed in
That's
this
a small
sector.
percent.
Oh.
That's almost like one little
Out
over
of
1%.
350,000, this is our middle income.
Yeah. Wow.
300. But I need to get
To get into this business,
Yeah.
to get into this business, this trust business, or into what we call
private wealth.
Private wealth, you need education.
Right, and they don't even answer you back
No, they don't answer
if you don't have something to let you in that door.
After you have education, everything depends on you.
How
You
far
can't
push
be a
yourself.
loud person. Just be quiet. Can't be talkative. Gotta be solo. You don't go out a lot. Why? Because you're carrying a lot of people information in your head.
They kidnap
Don't drink.
you, eh?
No, you can't talk people business.
Yeah.
Because again, we come back to what I told you this. You don't go by the cool in lunchtime. You see that?
You yapping.
You see them billions, you see them billions who just get transferred.
get
Them
3
billions.
billion.
Yeah.
He get business in Hong Kong. No.
And he come
You don't even know.
And he comes here and
On
choose
Some people
vacation.
are waiting to
They
drop
come here
from. They don't talk
vacation
from.
Commercial banks, they teach you that
Yeah.
confidentiality.
No,
Common
yeah,
bank.
but
But the information is get out though.
Yeah, they
They
don't
still
want-
get out
yeah.
because they go home and they
Information is
tell
get out.
family.
Yeah.
And trust you tell nobody.
But you won't lie, you know, because when people come now, like say they come to, I work the Commonwealth Bank, and
Mhm.
I, like, let's say I have someone who came to apply for loans, a trust person or something like that, they are, you could tell, just how they act, how they speak to you.
You see that? You notice the difference?
Got it.
They just
Got
like,
it.
Notice if you meet a
not,
woman.
not got it, but they
No.
just soft spoken, they
Soft-spoken.
humble, like, they just have a different air about them.
Yes. And some people call it that they try to pretend like they're important.
Or they
They're
bougie,
not.
that's just how they
Yeah.
have to be.
But they have to be. Because when you're dealing with a millionaire,
Yeah,
You
you
have
have
to-
show that either.
he's not gonna show it either,
I
but
was
you know
thinking
it.
that for true.
You have to be very disrespectful. Be very respectful.
So-
Subservient. Because they're paying fees. And they're paying
Oh,
small
yeah. And
fees.
rich people, you
And they can
can't
decide
tell
right
them.
now that based on your attitude, they don't want to be here. And they can say, close my account now.
Which losing money for the company.
Company. And then you're fired. So you notice they're very articulate,
I
very
would say that,
quiet.
now I know, because I feel like, what are you doing, so.
No,
Often
you cannot be
now
loud.
it's
true.
You cannot be
But
heard.
I find in dealing with people, wealthy people on the whole, because even in insurance, sometimes we
Mhm.
we have reason to deal with them. You can't tell them, they ain't hearing you. You can't
No.
tell them no, but not. One time I had to deal with a situation, and it was involving an emergency, and the man called me back and said, now while you're arranging that, make sure our dog going on this flight. So I say, dogs can't go. Like if you have an air ambulance situation, dogs can't, I mean like,
Yeah.
you didn't
No.
even,
You have to make it
He was
happen.
You
okay, you
send an
better,
extra.
And
whatever
the
you
law,
gotta
the
do.
United States is just changing their law. They're saying that, what you call them, animal security,
Emotional
comfort,
support.
emotional support.
Just like
They're not
service
taking all
animals,
different
service
types
animals.
anymore.
Right, but
Because they
this
show
was-
you people carrying peacocks and horses and no.
And
They
you
don't
have to
tell
have
you.
to have a license, cause my
Yeah, but
cousin
now they're
just did
limiting
this,
what you
yeah.
can carry as an
Yeah,
Yeah,
emotional
but I'm
support.
saying all that to say rich
Something
people,
about that.
they,
What?
you can't tell them
In the
no.
United States, I know they have like there's some fee or some things these people try to get out of with their animals. Anyway,
On
some
the
fee,
airline, man.
Mhm.
and once you have this
Emotional support.
emotional support,
I don't know.
that takes away the fees, that takes away
Service animals.
Yeah, because
all
something
these
is wrong
things.
with you and you need some,
Exactly.
yeah.
But boy,
That's
you
what
can't
you,
tell
instead of
them
having a human, a spouse, or a significant other, you get an animal.
It's almost
But so
very
dogs
bad,
still on the list for that.
Yeah, dogs are on the
Yeah.
list.
I think the dogs will always be on the list.
Yeah,
Yes.
but I saw they had the picture of the woman with the big peacock
Dogs are
flying.
different.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
You rather know.
but- Yeah, peacock.
Yeah, she had a peacock.
Yeah, I was working
But I
at
wanted to
Commonwealth Bank.
make
You
a
had this man
comment.
who used to walk inside there. I used to walk inside with this dog inside one little pouch.
Yeah.
Inside one little one.
Yeah, they
pouch
love
there.
their little animals.
No, I trying to figure where this barking come from. Me resting now. I keep
It's
hearing
like
this
a
little
little
barking,
bag,
barking.
it's
I
like
just
a
spin
little
around and
bag.
ask my supervisor, hold on. Me, you hearing the
Not
same
in
thing?
this space, they get run so fast, not by
It's
us.
a little bag, they
No,
get
they-
a little dog again.
You can't never try to by us.
Yeah,
But
they
they're
don't have
necessarily
to
just
accommodate.
companions, they are
That's like
specialized
companion.
training.
Yeah, the dogs are
They
special
train.
Because
trained.
we have these dogs now, they can tell when a seizure is coming on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
mhm,
it's not
especially
much.
Just for
trained,
that,
yeah.
that, you know.
Brick ways.
But I wanted to say, based on the discussion this morning with
Mhm.
everybody and what we've done so far, and make you see that the trustee has a huge responsibility, and they have to be well versed in many different
Yeah, in many
fields.
different areas. Yeah.
Not just, that's a big responsibility.
Yeah. Mhm. Yep.
So that's why they come with the languages and stuff like that. It's
Yes.
like you know this language and that language.
Mhm.
But
Yeah,
you
a lot of
find
skills.
around the world, most people know, especially developed countries, most people know English anyway.
The thing about it is they all know English, they
Yeah.
study English in school,
Mhm.
but because they have a native language, they switch.
Yeah.
So if they're just talking general information,
Yeah.
they'll speak English.
But
When
then
you
they'll
start
be more
asking them about their
confident
personal
of it,
information,
yeah, yeah.
they go into their own language.
Yeah.
So if you don't know it, you're
So that's
lost.
why you
Yeah.
need it. But they have software and stuff now that makes it.
So that's another
easy.
thing if you want to get in this business.
Mhm.
You have to be able to speak different languages.
Wow. What about
Why are you
re-
sucking your teeth?
What about relying on
Especially
your
Spanish.
on your
Right?
phone?
Right out.
Mandarin is
Yeah,
rich
yeah.
language.
That's it.
That's where the money is.
That's where the money is. But are you subservient enough?
Definitely not.
Exactly. He
Yeah.
wants some attitude.
I think you just
They
keep
don't
your
like
mouth shut.
attitude.
I
They
think
so
Yeah.
particular.
Well,
Yeah.
well, I think for
You
him
put your
it's
hand
Well, how
like this,
subservient are we
you
talking
know
here?
something, like
Really
Chinese.
subservient.
Really?
If you do
Just
certain,
keep your mouth shut.
You
That's
cross
not
your
good
feet.
enough.
Body
do certain
language.
things,
We have
Yeah.
body
That's showing that
language,
you
we
have
attitude,
more
we roll
power.
our eyes and we just, they don't be
well,
fair.
we deal more with attitude than money, but we need to learn more deal with money.
Yeah.
Than we
You got,
shift it.
you have to notice the difference in
Yeah,
other
we
countries.
don't have no money,
Countries
but
are
we
out
have
to get
attitude.
the money,
Yeah.
it's worse for women too though.
right?
Because
Yeah, some places
some-
don't even want to see
some
women.
men
Mhm.
in certain countries, if you look me in my eye,
That's a
Dubai.
problem.
Dubai,
you-
Dubai,
you-
Yeah.
They women is nothing.
AU.
Yeah, yeah.
Right, so
Yeah,
you all have it.
And in certain countries, women are only for a particular purpose.
Yeah.
Children and
So if you
baby.
come in my face, even if you're wearing a suit, you need to be vulnerable for that purpose.
What?
Because you are a woman, yes.
in Dubai,
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
white.
Again and again, I keep telling you,
You
Like,
know
you
me.
must know
United
history.
States,
No,
they
you
You
must know
back off
history.
me?
What is a woman for? What's a woman is for? So even
Okay,
though
that's
you wear
fine.
this suit and you have this education, you are still a woman. Okay.
You that
Let's not forget it.
Yeah, don't let
The minute
the
you let
suit
you know.
fool you.
The minute you
Or
raise your
anything
voice
else?
or you back off me,
Yeah.
they will come in your face and
Yeah.
let you know what time it is, and they
Mhm.
say, you know what, I don't want you working here. Period. I will
Exactly.
take my account. Now they look at you and be like,
But even your boss can do that
Ah,
as a foreigner.
right.
You have to know how to speak to them.
you can't cross your
And
line
if you
in certain
come from a
places.
family where you walk over men, you find out in the real world that
That
don't
don't work.
No.
Yeah, I can believe that for sure.
that don't work.
I know
Everybody
someone who
go
went to the
and get
AAU
paid
and they said they had to walk behind their husband and they had to look down. And it's a Bahamian. But you can't, that don't
You
work.
have to
Like,
be
oh,
prepared for that.
Bahamian women, you know, like, oh,
Be in
I'll
front.
talk back to you or.
I-
That's just our
In
culture,
In
but you
college,
can't do
I had
that.
some Middle
Black
Eastern,
women, I don't
Middle
think it's
Eastern
behavior, but I
friends.
think it's black women, the whole be just spicy. Like.
Yeah,
But you
Especially
gotta know your, you
Caribbean.
gotta know your place, you can't
Yeah,
do that
black,
everywhere.
black.
If we want to make money.
in college, I had some Middle Eastern friends, and their wives would stay in the corner, and like if you ask them something, they'll put their head down,
They're not gonna talk to you.
and they wouldn't even say
No.
nothing, and you'd be like, what?
Yeah,
And like,
man. Why would you be talking to another man? That's disrespectful.
yeah.
I see in Dubai, they
How
said
you
their
get
wives
asking
probably
them any
don't claim from them.
questions?
They can't go on the same
How I
plane
get-
as them and all.
Yeah.
Common courtesy.
No, no, what you doing talking to them?
But
No.
guess what? You know what
So
I realized?
let's use this as an example. How you doing, sir? Everything good?
No,
How you doing, ma'am?
No.
No, that don't happen like
Okay,
that.
so
If
that's
I
how you
say-
get.
When you address him, you address
courtesy.
her.
Yeah.
if I were you and I see them standing in the corner, that, what you talking to them for?
Well, we were brought up to address, well, me,
They-
address anyone
Nigga,
inside.
Delhi is a biggity
No.
nigga.
So the cultural norm.
Culture.
Yes,
of the
yes, you have to
culture.
know what the
Yeah.
culture is
Yeah.
like.
And then we have a lot of them here now.
Mhm.
And so for you all who just starting business, you need to learn.
Every walk of life. is different.
Yes.
And you
When
know,
I walked and when she walked is different from when you all walk.
Mhm.
We were in those days to be able to show our aggression and our intelligence as black people. It's a different world today.
That's how
If
we.
you want that money,
You gotta humble
you gotta
yourself.
humble yourself for that money, like other countries, and the money will flow.
It's only for a period.
Yeah, but during this period to get it and to get back is what you have to do.
You gotta simmer down.
You have to simmer down. You have to give the people what they want if you want that money. You gotta have to try. Cause if you don't do it, you get left
They
behind.
going somewhere
Yeah,
else.
it's somebody yourself to get the
Get-
grace.
Just right.
I watch-
So-
We don't even have to go that far, you look in the Bible.
To how much
What happened,
it
what
takes
happened to
to
the
do
slaves?
it.
How many times were they slaves?
Yeah.
How many times they had to throw bucket and water and build stuff
Yeah.
until they got where they needed
Cry
to
to
be?
God.
And where are they today?
Yeah,
They're the
they on
movers and
top.
shakers
That's
of the
why
world.
Chinese
They on
don't
top.
take foolishness
They on
for
top.
no one.
No matter how
never
you
see
look at
Chinese
it, the
from
minute you
someone
call
else.
their name in the business
Right.
world,
Well, the problem
everybody
with that
moves.
is,
Chinese.
Chinese work as an entity within themselves.
Right,
That's
so
what
what
I'm
they do,
saying,
they
you
send
never
money to the
see
Bahamas
Chinese
to
work
open
for like-
businesses.
So
Yeah.
open businesses.
And then the money gets
That's
sent back.
how
Yeah.
Chinese
Hey,
say
never
every
seen no
penny,
Chinese
that's how
with
we
no
walk
big
past
lump
the
sum
penny,
money
No.
the
inside.
same penny we walk
They
past,
send
they
it right
get
back.
that right up and make something of the penny. Chinese, that's why
But you
they take
see-
foolishness from people.
They work together.
Yeah.
Only the important roles they hold.
But remember now,
And-
they work together because they are one.
One.
We are not one.
Yeah.
No.
You do your ancestry history,
But
you'll
we
find
live
out
to be
you,
one.
there's 6 tribes from all over the world.
Like
You probably get
Canada.
10,
Canada,
she
Canada,
probably have
Canada,
5,
different
I
people
probably have
now.
8. We're all mixed with so many different people.
Mhm.
They ain't mixed with different
That's
people.
why it's get
They are
mad when
one.
when they come
That's
with
why-
when they
You
marry
see what I'm saying?
other places, right? People from other places.
Mhm.
Mm.
You see?
Because
Because
they-
you'll never think like how I think.
Yeah, you know, someone who did
Yeah,
that.
the Chinese
Chinese,
turn
they
into
like,
Chinese
don't like
now,
us.
all of them
Like
are
they,
The
the
Chinese
Chinese people, they don't like
Yeah.
her because she's
Because-
black. Why
Yeah.
you want
If
to
you
do
see,
that? That's
if
how
you see
they
a
do
Chinese
that.
Right.
They race
Right.
that because they can't
They get
stand.
along
They,
very
they
well.
whip them
Don't
Chinese
imitate.
people whip.
Yeah, yeah.
She married a Chinese, but they went from high school together. These Chinese who live over here,
Mhm.
they went to high school together.
Yeah, but you notice the ones that come here don't mix. It's a cultural difference.
Yeah.
Cause I know the Bahamians who went to school to study there, they said no.
They'll have children, but never marriage.
Yeah.
That's the only thing.
This one married.
Yeah,
this
the ones
girl,
who
but
came here a
they-
long
the
time ago,
family
they had
don't
children,
like
they don't
it.
marry.
They're still both married.
That's because the family
Yeah.
whip. That's what she
Yeah.
gets
But
it.
they're they abnormal.
Yeah,
The
but.
amount of Chinese we have here, you don't see no Chinese weddings.
Well,
Or deaths.
I've
You
just
don't
to
see
say-
the paper.
check that
Yeah,
out.
They
It's
send them
very-
back.
Yeah, you don't see them.
They send them back.
Once in a
They go
while,
back
you
to the
may see
homeland.
Hold on,
somebody.
now, you trying to tell me that every Chinese who die, they send back?
Most of them go back.
Me, never.
Cause I never seen that in no
Say,
newspaper.
yeah, yeah,
When Bahamians die in the state, they bring them back, you know.
That's true. They don't have to.
The people you see inside the papers, all of them did, when you notice them, we said, well, I never put up one of these, so when they die, they bring them back.
But
When you,
because don't
the,
have it.
when you see the
Yeah.
obituary and you hear this person died and so and so and so and was buried, then you know they were buried there.
Mhm.
But other than that, go to the funeral home sometime when you go and just look around the body.
Oh, no.
Last time I
Child,
went,
I don't do that.
half of the
no.
people there, they said
Also.
flew in.
Mm.
He died somewhere else. Yeah. What? Yeah, but open
You're
your
afraid of
eyes.
that, eh?
Anyhow, let's go.
I
Let's
ain't
move
afraid of
on.
that, I
It's
just don't like
real.
think about it.
It's real.
Well, it's real. You don't have to think about it
No.
because when it happens, you won't be here.
I scared you know, but I can't walk it.
Why?
I can't.
It's part of life.
That dead body can't sit in
Well,
the
I
seat.
would die
I
from old
can't.
age.
I can't sit in
You
the front.
you
You
don't
know what it
face your
is, you know what it is, you
I
just,
I
Every
need to see
funeral I
that.
ever went to, they have to
Yeah, I
go
don't
sit
want to
down
see that.
before I
It's a
enter church,
process.
and I sit in the back of the church. I don't
it's
care.
part of the journey, but you know, you want that journey to be, debt free. I mean, and you don't really wanna go to New Orleans.
I think it's good to have a healthy appreciation.
They are mall? You can never get me to go to the mall. Never get me to go to.
I
You
just
know,
I can't see how them
I just
undertakers
started
is just,
to go
I
to
don't know.
funeral
It's a lot of
homes.
money in that
I
business.
have to
Yeah,
go.
it is,
But like
it
now
is.
I can't.
And that's,
Someone asked me,
do
they
Yeah,
said, what I do
but
if I get some
die.
money? I open a funeral home and get a fleet nurses.
Just recently, yeah.
In
You know,
that
they
law,
like for a
I know I'll
long
make
time.
money.
No, but I always was scared of
In the
it.
crime.
What?
But
I'm
I
sure
ain't
I'll
scared
make
no
that
more.
money.
well, I would have opened up, graveyard, cause you know how much for one hole?
Yeah, it's a lot of money.
Yeah,
And I
for
don't have to
pay
just for
taxes on
one
that.
blood, not even a
That's a
double
business to
blood.
pay tax, like. I
No,
think that's exempt.
no.
It's a lot of money
It's
for one
exempt.
horse.
Okay.
I think
Yeah,
fishing is a
$2,000
tax
Exact.
business.
You know when they
Yeah,
put
that's
it
One
a
in
hole?
industry.
$2,000.
Let me
They
get
dig a hole in the ground.
It's couple well.
In a private graveyard, yeah.
Why you said that
What?
Why you said it's dangerous?
Fishing?
You know,
Go and
Fuck
open
the
up
fisherman.
Oh, you mean like that?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
you
could
That's
never
just
tell.
when it's something else.
It's
That's
in the
just
name.
something else.
You know pirates still out on the sea, right?
A lot
Well,
of people,
not
a
pirates,
lot of
pirates,
people.
but pirates that are
Pirates.
on islands that come
Pirates.
and take
Them
over.
real pirates.
Yeah,
That's
Don't
pirates.
come
They
across
are
something,
people.
don't come across something you shouldn't see.
They are
You gone,
Exactly.
that's only you want, you
Yeah.
gone.
well, these big yachts that be going across like Africans, you know, Africa and stuff. They have a lot of those that way.
Yeah.
You sometimes you'd see a yacht like there's incidents where I've heard there've been abandoned yachts and no one know
Pirates
out
probably
there.
came and took
Yeah.
them.
They came, they take all your money, and then
Somalia and all
Yeah,
they
that.
find your
Somalian pirates,
influence, or they know you are some important
Well, if
take
you
you
drive a
to.
yacht, you have to
They
pay.
kill you
So,
and stuff, and you
No,
make
they
money.
actually take you and then they demand money.
Money.
You
Yeah,
don't
no,
understand, but the fact that you have a yacht underwater sailing,
You, that's
have
money,
money,
so
baby.
I need to kill you.
You have
So
money,
get you.
baby.
I watched a documentary.
Kidnap.
Kidnap.
I watched a
Kidnap you.
documentary. They actually do have people who like yacht securities
Mhm.
for these same reasons, especially like when they bring in containers and stuff. And they hire these people to sit on the ship and
What you want
everything.
But you can't even trust them.
But you have to realize
He
that
said
being
you
this
won't.
little small island, if you go to a big country, then you will see money moving,
Mhm.
real money.
Mhm.
People only bite their money here.
Yeah.
So you really don't see the activity.
Yeah, you don't live, yeah.
You really don't see how money actually moves.
But there is
I mean, Bahamians are traveling more, but I don't think
They go
we
to
travel.
We
Like
still been, we
tourists.
still
They
been
go as much as
insulated.
Yeah, you go,
They don't
you
travel
go
as
like
much as
they
we
like to
should.
go to touristic sites.
Yeah.
You know, to see where money is made.
It's jokey places.
Yeah, you're looking for how to make money.
Trades.
They can talk
Yes.
about them. They can talk about
That
them.
is what it
They
is.
can talk about them Russians
When-
as much as they want.
So
So
they could trade.
They got
Trade.
the money, yeah.
Yeah.
That money is moved.
Yeah.
Russia and China.
but the United
Money
States is a
moving.
trade organization itself.
Yeah, but they ain't. I think there's
Look at
Russia
Haiti.
when it
I
comes to
mean,
They don't
when
make
they
as much
found out
money.
that Haiti is have some sort of
gold and diamonds.
and stuff like that,
So how
Yeah.
Dubai?
You
They
know
go
they
to
just-
Dubai is one of them.
that isn't just out of their pure kindness of their heart. They go on out there to help, you know.
Of course not.
They go on out there
So
to
imagine
help
if we strike
to
oil.
take
Yeah,
over.
Yeah,
And
And that's the thing.
I don't feel like we should pay for it.
No.
no, I got it.
Definitely too small for that.
Let me tell you
We
something.
might break our island in half to
It'll
it.
take us
If
over.
we get oil, they'll sit out in the sea and drag us in and then
They'll
go
suck
back.
it out.
Okay?
Look at
They
the
have-
straw.
And
You
you
ready?
would know.
We wouldn't even know
They
they
go
out there.
Bing, bing, bing.
Did y'all see
You
the
be hitting
tuna,
out there
did y'all see
all
the
day.
tuna fish that sold this week for $3 million?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
We're doing a fish.
Yeah, tuna.
Bluefin tuna, but
Bluefin,
you know we have
yeah.
bluefin tuna in
One?
the Bahamas.
Yeah, that's don't tell them that.
It was
I'm
one
trying to figure out why we ain't selling them.
No.
The people come to get them, taking it anyway.
No, but you see,
won't
the
know they
government
taking
should
it.
tax
$3 million
anybody
for
who come
one
into our
fish.
waters.
That's what they're trying to
You
do.
know they
And
Waters
taking
are too
it.
big.
People
But-
gotta be in
That.
a rich, we gotta be in a rich
Yeah,
You
we
know,
should-
it's
Once
still
you
could be a
try
rich
to
country.
publicize you know
Because-
something, people coming for it.
Oh, boy.
We
Listen
can
to me.
make
Well,
it
let's say
down
the
and
And we
Dominicans.
don't manage
Dominicans
our
that come into our
dynamic
waters.
well.
Instead blowing up their ship, we should
You
hire fishermen.
get back
Because
here with this. We could sell
They
them
know
too.
where the stuff is.
No,
We
they
don't.
foreigners, we don't want them.
Listen,
But-
it's actually a
Our
very
fisheries-
prominent,
Mandarin
very,
Orange.
very
Oh,
prominent
yeah.
seafood place over here.
Mhm.
The owner told me that if you ain't into yourself and you don't be a hog, the government will take and give away
Everything.
everything. These people who live up in Abaco, when I was working the Commonwealth Bank, my supervisor, he just come back from Abaco, Spanish Wells. He said the money went over there in fishing. He said anything in Nassau is a joke to that.
Yeah, we know.
He
That's
said
where the
this-
money is.
We
Yeah,
got
that's
one
why.
fishing lodge in that.
That's
No,
true.
not
No,
even
no,
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 Spanish
no.
Wells.
Spanish Wells.
Spanish
Spanish
Wells
Wells.
is catch lobsters and their lobsters just go straight to Red Lobster.
Yeah.
The money they get off that
Yeah.
alone a year,
Mhm.
he said they don't even, he
They
said
only work 6
in
months a
Spanish
year.
Wells, he
Yeah.
said they don't get loans.
Yeah,
No,
no.
Spanish
it's
Wells, they don't need
cash.
loans, they trade
They
between
pay
each
cash.
other
Again,
because they have so
but
much
Too much
again,
money.
money.
Take that same example and
But some
compare
people
it
like
to his
Spanish
own, to the
words
Chinese.
go up to
Yeah.
It's a
don't
community.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You don't,
They work
don't
together.
inside a community.
Right, they say
You don't
Spanish
come in
Wells.
a community.
Let me
You see the
show you.
difference?
And they
Oh,
know
You
it.
don't come
Instead
in
of
one
motivated,
corner,
I
they
spoke-
all think
I know
alike.
people
Yeah.
Spanish
You have
Yeah.
one common
See, my
goal,
uncle
that's the
knows,
difference.
My boy let me say the only person in here right now probably get fit in Spanish Wells is him.
And they don't like black people.
The only person who get fit in is him.
But it's a community.
But they work together.
Well, see, my uncle from
They
Lutra,
don't.
right?
Mhm.
But now he's still black.
He has a
them too.
friend. He has a friend from Spanish Wells,
They black, but
and
I don't know.
hearing their conversation, the amount of money they spend on traps out there,
Yeah.
$1 million
Yeah, they have their stuff together now.
per
Fishing
trap.
drops?
They have
For
their
traps,
navigation
for
and their
crawfish.
GPS and
He
all
was talking
that.
about the Dominicans and, you know, the way he was talking about them, he was just like, man, we should shoot them buggers and
Yeah,
all this and that.
this is
Right?
this.
Because what is happening, they come into the traps and they're
Cleaning
cleaning out
them
the
out.
traps.
After
And
you
they're
spend your
breaking the
money.
traps, which cost over $1 million each to put out there,
Mhm.
you know, and then,
They just money went in fishing, you know, Joe.
and then,
But you gotta know how to fish.
You got
Well-
how to fish and bend the
Bend the
fish.
fish, and you gotta know how to dive.
'Cause even
It's a
working-
risky business, but if you can get
But
into
the pay
it,
is
A
all-
It
lot of
pays off.
defense force officers getting into it because now they hire, like, these little Dominicans, they's gonna get them, put them on a ship for 6 months, and they have little dinghies, they send them out,
Trust
go
me,
die.
that defense
That's
force
what-
right there,
that-
they
they tell them
a
that
lot of
they-
them making some
Let me
money
tell you
off them
something.
same Dominicans.
They stop working after a while until they could get one of them ships, and they buy it, and they go out for a couple of months,
yeah, you hire them as your employees.
and let me tell you something, them Dominicans, they go in 60 to 80 feet of water, compressor, diving. That means they cleaning up the reefs, and nothing left. I know cause I was a fisherman myself,
Mhm.
but I know these things because, you know, it's out there. Fishermen talk.
Trust me, so much money in this country. It just they
Don't
just
know
the
what
right
to do.
people love it, so you can have
Yeah.
the right
Yeah,
people.
but guys,
It's
yeah,
just, it's
find out what
trickling
you
down
gotta
to
do,
the
get it,
regular
get it.
person.
I think it's pride.
We need to
I
get
think
out
it's
on some of this.
Yeah.
Some of this.
Yeah, money is there.
Well, you know, I can give you an idea, but you don't do this because it's me.
No.
Because it's yours.
Because
Yeah.
it's my idea.
Come, let's finish this unit.
Okay.
Conversation.
Yes. So I say you can establish a trust for charitable purposes, we talked about that before. Okay, for charity, and charity doesn't mean just for,
Giving away.
yeah, it could be for the poor people, it could be for education,
To
different
establish
reasons,
some-
yeah.
Oh, the
Building a
with the
hospital
cancer
or-
children.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always like
Okay,
that.
you can use it for wealth
Yeah.
management, that's one we talk about a lot, where you have a lot of money, and you just establish a trust, now put all the assets in it, and then you, distributions come from it, as you are living now. And as your businesses are operating, instead of you managing it, the trustee does it.
So, what had happened here, that guy who was supposedly given billions of dollars,
Derek Rowe,
I don't know him, I just hear about it in the news.
the guy who went on the WhatsApp notes.
Yeah, and everything, and like, he was told by the people that gave him the money, he had to share it.
They had
or-
talked to them. The
Mhm.
hand, well, the talk, I mean, I don't know truly, but the story is.
Yeah, but
it's
it's
like
not
a
clear,
trust.
because doesn't he keep saying the money is at the central bank, how can that be?
Yeah,
He was saying they
Definitely.
didn't give him access to it because I guess they were concerned
There's so
about
much
money
money.
laundering.
That's the man,
It's
that's
saying
the man who they said, that the rich family who
Yes,
adopted him,
the
and he have all
Kelly
this
is a
money.
life of-
And so where is his evidence?
I don't know, it's not
Yeah,
like he
the
dead
papers.
now, but.
That he
now-
was
yeah,
adopted.
he died though.
Yeah, it's not like
Who-
he
who died?
now.
This guy was, I heard that he.
Derek Rowe.
Yeah,
Is
I
he
heard-
dead?
He's
Sound
dead.
like he
Yeah,
died.
he's
Nah,
dead.
he
Yeah,
to die,
so-
cause that ain't just come about. They-
Because I heard it long
he
time
been
ago.
doing that
For
long, they
20
been saying that
years,
long
it's
time.
Yeah.
for 20 years back.
So he was
Yeah.
giving away money and whatever you needed, he gave it to you and stuff
But he
like
was the
that.
fellow who was stood at corner by there, and they said
I
that
said
it
Yeah,
was,
that-
down
that
by
it was a
Christ
scam.
Church. By Christ.
Yeah, it was a scam because he
Yeah.
was taking your money, and then when people came further
Sound
down
like
the
it
line,
was
they
true
couldn't
though,
get the
'cause
money
he was
back.
on Steve McKinney's show.
I
He
think
been
it
on
was,
Steve McKinney couple times,
Yeah.
couple of
it was
times.
Derek Rowe.
I think if he's
and-
entitled to it, they would have given it
He's
to
a
him.
good scammer, boy.
Yeah.
I think
So
it
let's
was
go.
Derek Rowe.
I'm gonna find financial planning vehicle to provide income and capital during the person's lifetime or to their children. You can establish a trust to manage assets and have the investment decisions and recording executed by a professional, or you can have an individual trustee. Or you can establish a trust for privacy.
Like he said.
And you can establish a trust to avoid a probate, which means establishing a will. Because once you have a trust, you don't need to wait for probate. It's just automatic. So for a valid trust to be created, there are certain formalities, and you'll learn this later, because you can't just establish a trust. There are requirements to establish a trust. And parties to the trust is the ones I told you before, it's a settlor, that's the person who gives the property, the trustee, the person who administers it, and the beneficiary, the person that gets the income and the capital. Have you already spoke about breach of trust? And there is a protection for a trustee under the act if there is a breach. And like the point she made, you have to have done what it was you're supposed to do. So there are different types of trusts. You have a trust for commercial and charitable objectives. You can do it for wealth management, asset protection, financial planning, last paragraph. And some of these trusts have different types of trust and names. And you'll see it when we get to that chapter. So the last thing about this unit is how to establish a trust company in the Bahamas. And I've added at the back, go 3 pages back. Go forward, go forward.
So it's page 9.
distribute, yeah?
Yeah, go forward.
Okay.
I've actually. Well, why you else listen?
No, I don't have that page.
Why you else listen?
Which page, what number?
What number the page is?
3 pages forward, she said.
The page 10?
Yeah, okay, you don't have it.
There's a
I will let them copy it for you. So what I've done in the notes is I've summarized how to establish a trust in the Bahamas. I'm gonna make a copy of this for you. This is from the Central Bank website. And it gives you the actual application package to establish a trust in the Bahamas. So you'll get this next class.
So, my uncle was telling me one time about how, you know, cause you know how the Bahamas is a tax-free haven, so like how they used to hide all the money at
Low tax.
low tax. But he's telling me how something happened and I think they started to implement a higher tax and the government had to, I think some people from like, what the place name, JP Morgan, people that lost their jobs and the government had to give them compensation because of the high lifestyle they was living.
Government?
Yeah, I can't remember what it is, what happened.
Government?
Yeah, please tell me a story about it.
No, you better go back and get that story right. That don't sound right. What government? I don't know about that.
I mean, it's international, so it wouldn't be,
Yeah, the company probably had to do that, but
exactly, it
not the
wouldn't be the
government.
government,
No.
because
It
Now,
could've
maybe they
been
may have
more
gone
than
to
that.
court.
Yeah, it could have been,
Maybe
they
on
gone
the
to
court or
court.
something like that, but not the government of Bahamas. Ain't happening.
they take the whole company over.
Okay, so if you want to establish a trust in the Bahamas, there are different types of trust companies you can establish. So you can establish a full-fledged trust company that offers all services, or you can establish what we call a restricted trust. And a restricted trust means that it only does trust for a particular number of clients. And then you can have a trust of what we call a nominee trust company, and that's one that acts on behalf of another trust.
How do, would you know, for example, if you looked in the phone book and the trust companies, how would you know what the, you would have to be, you know, find out from them directly what type of,
Services they provide. And so in here, I've given you what's required for capital, and you'll see that the capital is higher. Depends on the type of trust company you want to establish. Now, in the Bahamas, because we're an international center, we like to have trusts.
What page are we on, sorry?
We like to establish trusts that are subsidiaries of other trust companies around the world. Why is that? Because they already have the infrastructure in place.
Right, you don't have to go through all that.
So we
take it
like,
off from the ground.
Right.
we like.
So
a
that means
sister
you'll have to
company.
start very small. You'll actually have to start as a restricted trustee.
That's like JP Morgan, right?
No, they are full-fledged trusts. Say if all of you in here worked in a trust company, and now you want to establish a trust of your own, company of your own, to provide trust services.
It'll be a restricted.
They'll give a restricted one, where you could say, all right, we have 2 clients, we want to provide this, so they let you start small,
Small.
and then be, because you're gonna have to have the infrastructure in place, because you're managing people's money.
So you think having like, let's say the sole class is my client, you think that would be enough money to suffice me for the year?
More than enough.
I was gonna say, because,
I mean, if
All of them would be
so we have
millionaires
a
and multi-millionaires.
contract company
Mhm.
working
But now
for
don't
that
forget
you
now,
said that I'll be waiting
You,
on,
again,
you know.
you're gonna have to have sufficient staff and expertise. So besides the filing person, the administrator, the receptionist, the rest of those people, all of them you're paying anywhere between $150,000, $200,000 a year.
You don't necessarily have to be right.
Hold on,
That's
you have
just-
that, you
that's
have that.
Well,
filing
that's
person.
confidential.
It's confidential, you're dealing with millions and billions of
Listen,
dollars.
Joe, when that is happen, these people get no
Seal
hundred.
file.
I'm trying to figure out what
I'm
I
just
need to
telling
check
you.
this.
This, these yes,
and then you get.
People
Can't
who
you
Yes.
trust is
Miss
making-
Archer, I is verified these jobs
Sorry.
too. So, I never see that like that.
I can tell you right
I
now.
can't tell you what it is, but I
I
show
know
you
that my
that.
office don't make
Yeah.
that
Like,
much.
they walk or
Oh,
come
yeah.
and my job with the door long time.
I mean, I'm a bit closer,
This is a good money there.
The money is paid. My
Money?
money is paid.
They
But
pay
I
for it.
they make it money.
but they do make it.
Cause
Okay,
they'll
so
be
Well, she
liable
said
if
accept
you
them.
start.
Oh,
That
accept them.
accept
Oh, yeah,
them.
yeah.
She said the ones
Except
with
that I didn't
education.
accept, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, them said making them.
The one thing, yes, they make
Yeah.
that.
I can tell you that a messenger job making $35,000 a year.
And teachers
On
get
messenger
paid.
job.
Spinal assistants making more than me.
Yes.
I pay,
So
I think
people-
you say 100,000, but they at least
No,
making
that is it.
Teachers
It's not
get
even-
paid.
Then all shop and getting five assistants make that, 'cause that's what I thought.
So
So,
we
I'll
said,
be
"Oh,
trying to
we
get
said,
them
"Oh,
to
we
do
said,
it.
this is-
$35,000.
when they
Then
finish,
some
they
of them
finish,
for 25,000 again. The 30,000 again.
That's a messenger.
Y'all know teachers.
You need just walking down like that.
Teachers
Make a lot of money.
$26,000 a year.
And you go and bust it brain, get a bachelor's degree to be teacher. Yes.
Mhm.
They do that.
You know, she doing something, I give it to her.
Yeah, she
All right.
did some good.
Yeah.
Like, that's how they doing you.
that time you spent.
Well, you know, that's the main thing they push
If you don't say
in
what you would do.
nursing or
just
teaching.
piled up.
Nurses and teachers, they going so hard in school, I feel like they should be getting way more money.
They pay the most unfair jobs.
Yes.
You know where a teacher
Yeah,
raising
teachers
your
just
child?
pay their child
I said, you know where a teacher should be based? A teacher basically
Yeah.
raising the children of
She
tomorrow,
done break 'em
and
to
we
them.
getting
Going
nothing.
hard.
Yeah.
That's the most unfair job.
I
you
can
can
go to
basically
school,
see
but
why
the
the
curriculum
curriculum the way it
they
is,
never
because
like
the
that.
teachers
That's
are
really
not
interesting.
satisfied with the pay. And I feel like going back to, you know,
But
the
remember,
business law.
teaching is like
They get more than
medicine.
teachers do.
It's a profession.
Don't forget in commercial banking, they
And you
have
need-
The difference.
inside
Must
of
love what you
branch,
do.
you'll make money, but when
And that's
you,
where the reward
go
comes.
That's true,
off
because
into
any teacher you
finance,
meet, they love their job.
Yeah, it's a different, it's a
That's
difference,
true.
yeah.
But them said we go and get a PhD,
gotta
and
get
we
it.
pay like accounts and stuff. You would wonder why they're not in like an accounting firm or something like that. But they so love
They
teaching
love what they do.
that they
And they
rather
get their
just do it
rewards
as a
from their
profession.
students.
Right.
And after that, seeing that the reward is from the students, I have professors, like I knew someone in like, anyway, I was a part of the legacy program, and she showed me like documentation of trying to find out how much these teachers making. There was a professor that was making $450,000 a year.
University?
University, and I went to University of Central Florida. Being that professor, this is
People
someone
in
he
commercial
loved what he
banks
do.
making $150,000.
And you would see you get rewarded as you go along.
Exactly.
But if you don't love what you do,
Because
the students are not gonna talk about you, they're gonna say, what they teach, or they don't teach
I
nothing.
even had a professor,
They don't even
like,
teach for me.
this just
As
gas
a,
money.
as a job.
It comes.
Just substituting
Wrong
gas as gas
Commercial
money.
banking,
I say
they
You
you
need
know.
that partner,
Yeah, I know. $5 you get is just to be on
You
the
know
payroll.
Xavier, right?
This pay was like a penny a
So
year.
it's
Saving, or they will look at someone that
I
needs
think I
someone who's just doing it for a job, and someone who loves the service. That's when it comes up. And someone will walk right in that door and say, yeah, someone come right there and say, I have a job for you.
What an offshoot
Very
it is.
true.
Mind you,
That's what I
mind you,
see.
sometimes you see people,
Almost
I
like
just
about
told
a salary.
somebody the other day,
With
I went to
outreach,
the store in the morning, and I was walking up the door, and first, we had the conversation,
That basically
and I
was
told the guy, I said, I said, the security work for you, or he work for the company, but he just said, I'm working for a company. I said, if he ever leave that company, you all should pick him up, cause he's one of the best securities I've seen, in terms of observing, cause you know, the
And what
security. be at the
some
home and
securities,
stuff.
when in certain firms, if you go in, they can tell you more than the people at the front desk.
Yeah, and
That's the
some
ones they need to
helpful-
hire.
Some helpful too.
That's the difference, that means they have the
Yeah.
capacity to learn.
And then they running around trying to help, like you say, yeah,
Yes,
you know,
you can tell it.
one person. But then, like, when you just looking at the phone
Even
all
when I
day.
say I'm very observant, I can be talking to you, but I understand what's happening around me. Like, being in
You like it
the
that
type
Which
of
is good
business
too.
Monday is my birthday. I just need first script and Friday.
Right? Being in that, you have to be very vigilant. And you have to listen to certain things while you're. So I'm looking at you, I'm hearing you, but I'm also hearing this one, that one, that one.
Yeah.
Everyone
Yeah.
else.
When you
You
don't
know,
spend
and
service,
I can tell I hear something that really triggers me. I love.
Yeah.
And I know, so being a very observant and person who sells and customer service, I think that's under my
Yeah.
thing.
So you have to learn how to offer service and be way too arrogant. You can't offer service.
To be humble, you have to be.
You have to humble yourself.
I don't like going nowhere and getting bad service because I work in the service industry. I know that it's to stand on the telecounter and have a smile on your face when
And the
someone
customer just
facing
fry you right
when
over.
someone
Yeah,
facing you like
you
a
gotta be
dog.
humble.
And you gotta keep
But guess
smiling.
what? When they walk away because of your smile, the attitude change.
And
Right,
guess
because
what?
You know, you don't see it, They changed
I had
because it
customers who
won't send.
couldn't-
They can say, guess what, mama, I shouldn't have done that, you know.
Yeah, man.
I
That's
couldn't
the
do
big
it.
You know what?
I couldn't do it.
No,
I had an
when
incident
I
where a
got
customer
my
came in,
attitude,
and
I
she
would
wanted-
speak
she
on the
wanted-
phone,
she wanted a particular thing and she couldn't get it.
People
So I
being-
came in and I smiled at her and I complimented her. I said, "Blue Billy looks good on you." And she said, "Man, not the thing."
She cool right now.
She cool right now.
Yeah,
You know, and it
but
just
that's
said-
how it
So
is.
this was as a pillow?
No, food, in the food store business.
Listen,
You have a lot of people
I
who,
see you. I see
you
you.
see me before.
I live around there.
Or-
Miss Archer, I
Yes.
had one
I was
customer,
serious up on your Facebook. I could get over
I had one customer,
Well,
and I say this
this
is
is
my
write a book.
person.
Yeah.
People who
This
look at
man
me,
treats
they
me
don't
like
know
a
me
dog.
because
Like he pulled me on the
they-
side,
they
and
do.
when I say he was
you
loud,
just look too
he
serious.
start after
and
that,
approachable.
because I wasn't really paying him no mind after he started cursing at me. I tried to get him to calm down. He was in the middle, they had to physically escort the man out, cause I asked him for his ID.
But you know, y'all just gave me an idea, you know. You have both of you in customer service, and you all could sit down and you all can write a 50-page book. Each chapter is on a different scenario, and at the bottom you could say, what is good customer service for each one? And you can make money. And they could use it in the high schools,
I had it.
about
I could
customer
do it.
service.
I had it. I
Cause you have
started
the
off with-
experience.
Yeah.
With Express it, I get.
That's what I'm saying, there's ways to make money, but Beam is just too lazy.
Lousy. No one likes
First
writing.
grade.
I don't like writing.
Yeah, but I'm saying, that's how he's saying it now. He could type that. That could be 5 pages right now. He could write all of his little vignettes. And then y'all sit down and say, okay,
I never got
what's the
it.
lesson to
I know,
learn?
like,
and how would I have done this different?
how much is
You
it?
write a book?
What to say at the time.
Until you'll share it.
I had a
Before you
man
know it,
tell
it
me
becomes
I was
international
in with my
people to
manager,
read.
just because he couldn't
Just
get
do
his
it.
way that day.
Well, you know what?
Yeah, they
I
tell you
experience all
anything.
type of people.
That's what I'm saying.
And
Write
think
a book.
about it as, think about it as,
No.
Right about
how I deal with them.
She was my manager.
as a manager, I come out and I
Right, yeah.
serve them myself. If you have an issue,
My
What is your
manager
opinion?
and I'm excusing myself
But
to
yeah,
serve
yeah, you
you,
finished with that?
Yeah,
bring you that good
I
customer
can remember
service,
today's date.
I feel
dates
every
in my
business
head.
like they know the manager.
I don't know.
So,
Okay.
when they
Well,
say something, I may look at my employee and be
That's
like,
all- that's really good.
no, how this can go.
Alright, but
So
he-
we're like,
That day.
You know, but he
Yeah,
make
but
good
yeah,
decisions.
yeah.
Talk. They don't know the talk, but once they know the name,
They
I
can
used to kind of like, what's it like I'm from?
Alright. So you
Yeah,
have
I'm
the
the
study resources at the back, those are the
Okay.
added.
Anything
And
like
then
that.
go to start, download the Trustee Act, you can go to Bahamas Financial Services Board
We studying?
website. Trustee Act,
Instead of that.
at the end of the chapter, no, I'm going to go to the back here.
Oh.
At the end of the chapter, I've listed some of the
Nineteen
legislation.
ninety.
But I want you to start by printing the Trustee Act and all of its amendments.
Do we have to put Bahamas in that or?
We studied it at
Let me
school.
know, let me search in for this. Do we have
Go to
put
Bahamas Financial
Bahamas?
Services Board website,
Mhm.
click on the legislation, and you'll see all the laws down. Click on the Trustee Act,
Hold on. What it is I go into?
Bahamas Financial Services Board website. Click on the legislation, and you'll see all the laws. You'll see the Trustee Act, and all of those acts there listed. I want you to print the Trustee Act and all of the amendments to the act. Because that's the main legislation you need to have. And leave it out.
or
So this what we have to read for next, before next class?
Trustee Act. Right now, you can just read it to familiarize yourself. As we go through different chapters, through the whole program, by the time
Trustee
you
Act,
begin to
Bahamas
know
Financial Service Board, and after that go to
legislation.
But what you say is study material in this.
No, I would say this is the study resources. This is the legislation I was speaking about. I did some of all. Right? As
I
you go
always
on, you
love,
see
like I
more,
told
you
you.
familiarize
Boy.
yourself.
But I tell you, I always love
this
trucks.
road ain't easy though.
See?
This is why.
Like I kept saying, I can do the trucks.
Mhm.
Even
Look
with
for
trustee.
the-
But then,
the-
I mean,
the-
Like
the-
this?
Okay.
Because I
Right.
have a couple of gracious
And it's like
too,
printed out
I
too?
like it.
Yeah, you gotta print it to read it.
Okay.
What I did.
How much pages is it?
What, the Trustee Act?
Uh,
Oh,
hello?
30
Jesus.
or less, 30,
Anything
20
I do.
something, but all the amendments.
Oh, okay.
Came from a small style.
So Ms. Archer, what do you
See,
do?
things
What's your
like
prof- I
that.
mean,
My
besides lecturer,
profession?
what's your profession?
My profession
Seem to be very
is
good at it.
I'm a banker
On how
and I'm an attorney.
you want to
Ah, wonderful.
So what you doing, Miss McCarty, if you don't mind me asking?
Not McCarty.
Huh?
I can't
Well,
have you on
no.
My name is Archer.
Yeah, you are, sure. But you're related to John Archer. You married.
I'm just not married.
You, I like your
But you
passion
grew
about
from
what
some
you
other
do.
stuff, yeah. I'm sure
Because
they
I
want to know.
I
don't understand people.
capable of doing it.
And on to tourism, she been there long too.
I like your passion and you know that you know your stuff.
My profession, I do compliance.
You also
I'm an
teach a
MLRO.
compliance, you also teach a compliance course, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, you piqued my curiosity. Compliance is another good area. I've been
As a matter of
told.
fact, we just started the introduction to AML this morning.
I saw some people coming
We
in
have
when I
two
was coming in,
classes.
but I didn't really come for them.
Yeah, we have 2 classes going on now. So when they finish them, then they will do intermediate. And intermediate AML is the one that I
That's like,
wrote.
you
So
know, saying, okay, you have a business plan, we have to
that's,
do this one
People
part
are
now.
very interested.
so that's
But
what
I
I do.
always love the trust and I had an interest in learning more about it.
Trust
Because
it.
I can take my, I can do this
Miss Archer, you
now.
have no contact there, y'all.
So once you
Oh,
know
you remember the
something,
contact?
302-5997.
think of it.
302.
5997.
That's the work.
Yeah, my email is cm Archer underscore UWI. That's where I went to school.
Uh-huh.
Because not everything you're investing that
Dot
we're trying to
com.
make in a week,
WI.
you might have to go back and
Dot
look
com.
at
At yahoo.com.
Yeah.
I love this class. I really love it.